a scheduled agenda for this. We're just gonna kind of wing it and see what happens. I had expected a fourth person here, but people bail. So
Weak.
Christian Bale.
Richard has Richard has his own personal single view,
Oh.
and then
You're welcome, ladies.
Right.
If
He's
any of you
sexy
are listening
man.
to this.
say that again. I just panned back to the other camera.
No.
What was that meme of Bugs Bunny? It was like, new. Nope.
So, anyways, the point of this is we're gonna sit around and just talk cars, see what happens,
Mess with some zip ties.
mess with some zip ties.
Politicians are going to get mad.
No politics, no cussing.
You got to remind me of that.
We're going to have a lot of...
Right. Right.
Bleep.
Well, that's why I'm not going live.
Time
with this
delay.
That'd be a bad idea. So you were talking about your Blazer there a little bit ago. What was it that you had replaced on it recently?
The fuel tank and fuel lines. Because they had, it was always leaking, but it finally gave out leaking, where it wouldn't even run.
Gotcha.
And then it sat for another year and a half before I was even motivated enough to actually fix it.
That was leaking when we went to West Virginia, wasn't it?
Yeah. But again, like you filled it to the top and it'd be fine.
Right.
Or, excuse me, you fill it to the top and it would leak. We get about, 3/4, half a tank, and it'd be fine, and it wouldn't leak. But then I'm like second guessing, like how crappy that fuel float, like how is the level sensor, like, because the odometer works, but the trip, like, sometimes works, and that's putting it nicely. Sometimes works. And when it does work, it doesn't make it past 200. For some reason, 200 is the topping point on the trip part. Can't go past 200 for some reason. And I don't even know, like Dorman or somebody makes a new gear set, like, because it's mechanical, right?
Yeah.
On both of them. So there's you can get like a replace gear set for your trip, but it's like universal, and so it like works OE on some, and then some others you have to kind of modify it. And I'm like, and then like I can't find anybody that rebuilds these clusters, because like yours, there are people out there that actually just rebuild the stepper motors in the cluster, or the backlights, or the little LCD. Does yours have the little LCD like in the middle? It's a Chevrolet when you start it up. Yeah.
So what on your Blazer? What instrument cluster do you have? Do you have that one where it's white?
The non-crappy one. I do not have the. I can't swear.
You can't.
I don't have the basic one. I've got actually the mid one. So it's got the TAC, the 4 gauges, so oil pressure, volts.
Okay, so
coolant,
you have
and
the later generation.
no, it's the upgrade. So a base model like a Cayenne 2-door Blazer would have came with a single. Right. Okay, so the S10s and like the base model CK trucks would have had this weird, I don't even know what, like backlit odd gate. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's not your needle overlaying.
Right, it's
numbers.
like it's got a white wheel. In
right,
the background.
it's got
that
right
rotates around.
Because that's what I
Right.
have in my Silverado. Is
right. So the Blazers would have had.
one.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but all the Blazers either would have had just a giant speedometer with no tack and like a few gauges across the top, or you had the Silverado. I don't know if it came with the Silverado package, but it had the upgraded cluster with the tack and the 4 gauges across the top. Now, thanks to another buddy of mine in Maryland, he was like, oh, yeah, there was a TSB about them. People complaining that the top small gauges, they weren't perfectly straight. Oh, you look like yours isn't perfectly straight, and now I can't unsee it. Every time I get in the truck, it's like it just kind of crests a little bit of the top gauges. It's not perfectly lined, and now it kind of bothers me.
You can fix it. And you could fix your gear while you're at it.
I know, but
Is it worth fixing it?
No,
Just don't, don't
not for
leave
that.
Ohio, and you'll never go past 200.
No.
Just reset it when you get to the end. Start back over.
that poor truck needs a transfer case so dang bad that like, I mean, it's probably out of fluid by the time I drove it home and drove here. Because somebody rebuilt it and cracked the pump. I tried JB welding it and all kinds of crazy stuff. That freaking, and then so I was reading up on it, is basically once like they start vibrating, once you get like a drive volume vibration and these they call it a NP 241C, because I guess there was versions of the 241 that would have went in Mopars and they called them Ds.
Oh, okay.
That would have went like a Dakota or something. But they've made the 241 a bunch of like an evolution, just like the transmission. So this earlier evolution of it has the fluid pump exteriorly bolted onto the tail shaft part.
Okay.
And somebody tightened the bolt too tight and cracked. And it just hemorrhages transmission fluid because it just takes ATF. Hemorrhages transmission fluid. And so it's a nice undercoating, I guess. You know.
You're not going to rust. You might not move, but at least it won't
It's
rust.
rusting. Oh, no. We've made it like when we went to, you know, when we went to West Virginia in the mountains, like by the time we made it out of maybe like Chillicothe or what's the one further south? Circleville. By the time we made it probably to Circleville, it was that. I put fluid in it. I put it in 4 high, and it goes on a 4-wheel drive. I've never had a problem with it.
Who needs a transfer case?
Right. Who needs a transfer case? Just direct drive. Just
Direct
blow
drive.
blow out the chain and everything. But again, it's mechanical, except for like a $20 switch for the front diff that decides to work when it wants to, and I had to replace it
For $20.
For 20
bucks
bucks.
of your time.
Yeah. But there's no code. This is so old that like you're lucky enough if you get flash codes. Lucky if you get flash codes. Like it runs so poorly because it's a crappy Jasper engine that I just have not given the time to like figure out why it just runs good enough to move on its own power. But it's definitely not running like 100%. And like the only time it's ever thrown a check engine light was going like up the mountains when I was moving from Maryland to here, going through Cumberland and the Appalachians. Like the only time the thing has ever set a check engine light for like, okay, now we're running really, really badly. Like we were just running badly before, but I'm okay with that. We're running really, really like OBD1 is such a terrible garbage. Like, I mean, it was a leap of advancement, but it's terrible compared to the technology and diagnostics today. But I don't know. I'm gonna LS swap it. Maybe all that will blow up.
I would definitely fix your transfer case before you.
Okay, so the conundrum on the transfer case is: do I buy a used one for like $200-300 that's already 30 freaking years old, or do I buy a reman one for like $800 to $1,000? Does have a warranty. That's $800 to $1,000 on a transfer case.
If you're gonna LS swap it, I would lean towards the remand. Personally, I think
so too, but I kind of want to get the LS to actually work
prior to putting the $1,000 potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've got, it's just a Gen 4. Is that right? It's an early Gen 4. It's like out of like a 99 2000 Suburban, like 5.3 iron block. It's got like a gajillion miles, and basically the body and transmission fell out of it before the motor quit. So I'm going to have to like, fortunately it's not an AFM engine, but
Freaking nightmare.
right. So
Yes,
I don't
it
have to
is.
delete all that fancy jazz. And because the Blazer is a factory manual Blazer, which is ultra rare, not very valuable, but it's rare, and I want to keep it that way, I can't go crazy because there's not really any alternatives to keeping it four-wheel drive and manual transmission. So there's the 3500, which is what Kyle has in his truck.
And then you have the 4500.
You have the 4500,
which is what they had in the 2500s
Right.
and the 3500s.
which are definitely stronger,
Yes.
but they're geared definitely for a truck.
Yeah.
And then you had this ZF transmission that you could get in a 2500, like 6-liter, and like the Duramaxes, like what, 04, 05, that
Something
era
like
Silverado. And those transmissions, like used, are like $3,500. Not to mention having to fabricate like how to make the cross member.
Yeah, to mount
to mount it, to change the drive shaft. You know, like to get it custom, because I'm sure the length is not going to be the same. Like a 4500 is going to be an easier swap, but the gearing, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with the engine, because I can't go crazy. So the LS is going to have 100 plus more horsepower than the crappy TBI 350.
Literally the slowest truck I've ever driven.
Oh,
in
it's
my entire
terrible.
life.
Oh, it's terrible. But,
But the fact is that mine's the 305,
right,
2500,
which is probably even
5
worse.
speed.
Well,
it is.
mine being a Jasper
Dog
engine's
turd.
probably
It's dog
equivalent. I mean, I could put like a S10 4.3 in it, and it actually moved better than this Jasper engine. But anyways, so the torque is actually the same, or pretty close to the same. The LS only has like 5 or 10 more foot-pounds of torque than the 350.
Would not have guessed that.
So, but I mean, a 350 has the range of about like 1,000 RPM window before it just craps itself out of torque. Like if you look at a peak torque line, it just kind of like checks out, just like a check mark. It just is there, and it just kind of there as the horsepower just goes down. Where like an LS, they just kind of both go up and merge nicely and keep going. But I'm afraid of that poor transmission.
Well, the NV 3500 isn't known to be the most reliable.
So if it was just an automatic Blazer from that era, I would have no problem just like either putting an automatic, just having a beefy automatic in it, or just converting it to two-wheel drive, LS swapping, putting like a T56, and spending the money doing like conversion, you know, of the cross member and drive shaft and all that. This is like, I don't know. It's special in the way that they didn't build very many. It's not valuable. It's not like a Yankover, but somebody did check the I want the manual transmission box. And in a Blazer, they are like, there's no actual figures, but I want to say it was like, I want to say GM on their, like, there was somebody had archived a sales pamphlet brochure, and they estimated that the number of people or percentage of people buying a manual was like 1% of all the Blazers, like 1 or 2%. And I think that was pretty generous too, to be honest with you. I mean, I've only seen a couple of them.
See, but now that they're remaking Blazers, maybe your values start to go back up. Like when Alpha came back to the States.
So the Blazer, GM's just pulling, on the new Blazer, GM is just pulling name recognitions to sell cars. The Bronco, it looks legit. I kind of like, if I didn't like Bronco's infotainment situation, the sync system, I mean, there are some Fords that I would be okay driving. I don't know if it would be my favorite car, but I'd be okay. But the sync system, like GM's, like Chevy calls it MyLink, Buick is like IntelliLink, and GMC's whatever GMC's version, I forget what they call it. And like Cadillac has a Q system, which is a whole nother disaster. But the Ford's MyLink is terrible in my opinion. I've touched all kinds of Fords, and I just can't.
How do you touch them?
Used car touch them, like make the used car manager cry every time I do it. He like literally gets upset. It's like, why is Andy doing a used car? Because I would, okay, so there was a guy in Maryland, and in Maryland you have state inspections.
Yes.
Ohio does not.
in West Virginia,
Right, basically every state around
But we
us.
live the greatest state
I
with
know.
no car
No
inspection,
emissions.
and I passed multiple on the way here.
Yes, absolutely.
No taillights, it's fine. Half a headlight, it's fine. You're not going to get pulled over.
Right. Half a front end. I saw one that was like completely just straight up wrecked. The whole front end, but like one headlight was just hanging on by a thread. Just cruising. Just, okay.
You can see the ground right there. It's safe.
Right. I'm
Safety.
fine. I think there was one that like actually tried to pull the flashlight trick and got pulled over.
The flash. Oh yeah.
A guy at work did that. And I was like, you're going to get pulled over when you try and drive home at night
Right.
with that.
So is that like Rick Ruel?
No, this was a young, he's like 19, 20, and he had a Black & Decker rechargeable flashlight strapped and then taped to where his headlight used to be. This is not a joke. I wish I had a picture. Oh, it was, and then he'd come back and it would be at a different angle. I'm like, did you have to recharge it? He didn't find that funny.
Well, they have like LEDs now as far as headlights.
I hate LED headlights, and if you have them, don't switch them out.
The Fords are the ones that bother me. The brand new Ford trucks have like these stacked headlights, and both of the lights are on. Like they engineered it that way.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's great going blind when you're driving.
right. I cannot like every time I get like, I mean the truck is I don't drive the truck enough, but the Buick. Like one downside of driving a car is you get blinded by anything taller than it. Now, fortunately, the Buick tries its best because it's got the auto dimming rearview mirror. But it's still like, okay, I'm driving straight, and then I look at my side mirrors. Those are not auto dimming, so I'm like, beam of light to the face, like, oh, now I guess I'm just gonna be driving blindly for a couple seconds while my vision comes back.
I mean, if we all had BMWs, we'd be okay.
right?
Auto dimming side mirrors, auto dimming rear mirrors, auto dimming back window. I mean,
There was one, I was watching a video, forget what it was. Let's say a BMW or Mercedes. Someone had like a frosted glass roof. So it had one of those panels. It wasn't an actual sunroof, but it was one of those glass panels. But if you wanted it shade, you just flip a switch and it just like frost itself. Like one of those like invisible glass trick things. It was amazing. I would never pay for it. Having a glass roof seems ridiculous, but
it's also super safe.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
But if you have the money, you should definitely buy one of those.
I mean, it's a pretty sweet party trick. Like, look what my roof can do. And it just frosts.
I mean, mood lighting. Taking a girl out, boop, there it is.
There was another video I saw. It was like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or something. I think it was a Rolls Royce. It had that mood lighting, right? But it had like little specks of LEDs act as like stars. And then because of Rich Pinkies Up, it had like RNG, just like random shooting star across the headliner. Dude, it was crazy. Like that's ultra rich.
That's that FU money, Rich.
Right.
That's the
I got so much money, I don't even care.
And
I got
somebody
freaking
else's
shooting stars.
yeah, but you're never driving your car at that point.
No.
Somebody else is driving for you.
Right.
So how do you enjoy? I guess you would have to have something in the ceiling.
Back, just, and
Ultimate
those
nap
back
time.
seats, are captains and they recline all the way back and whatnot.
Cars we will never have, gentlemen. Cars
Nope.
we'll probably never have.
Never.
I wouldn't even buy one of those if I had the money. I mean, seriously, I would never buy
No.
one of those even if I had the money.
I would
think
love to
they're
ride
stupid.
one though.
I don't even know if I would want one or ride in one. Like, I'd rather a supercar than like a Rolls Royce. Like, I'd rather go fast than
Ride
luxury.
extremely comfortably. I mean,
I know, but like riding comfortably, I mean, you can get a, $1,500 Lincoln Town Car and ride comfortably.
yes, you can. Still want an Alpha 4C or the Quadrifoglio Giulia, just
Yeah.
because it has 500 horsepower, but they're also like 90 grand. So
Alphas definitely don't have the reliability reputation of.
No.
But do you buy an Alpha for its reliability, or do you just buy it to say you have an Alpha?
You just said that you were going to buy it because it's 500 horse. For 90 grand, you know what you could build?
A Blazer with an automatic transmission and an LS swap.
But more
You
than
could do that for a couple thousand.
Right. I'm going to 90 grand, that Blazer would be gone. I'd have something different. I'd have my sweet, sweet V-Wagon.
I don't know. I'm just an Alpha junkie. I can't help it.
That's
probably
fair.
won't happen
I had a
either.
But you-
GTV6. I mean,
I mean that's fair. I mean you're an alpha junkie. You're admitting the fact that you're an alpha junkie because before you were saying you were going to buy it because it was 500 horsepower. It's not because it's 500 horsepower. It's because you're an alpha junkie.
oh yeah. So to be clear, the Quadrifolia is their 4-wheel drive supercharged engine, and that's if I were going to get a new Alpha, that is why I would get it because it's an Alpha and it has 500 versus like 280 horsepower. And goes 0 to 60 in 3.6, I believe.
Doesn't Fiat own Alpha?
They do now, unfortunately. You win some, you lose some.
I mean, like Volkswagen owns Lambo and Bugatti, and Volkswagen owns a lot now. And I think Fiat just merged or bought like the Peugeot group. So it's like you get Peugeot and like Citroen and couple other brands.
I heard something
like
about that.
Yeah. Did you hear that GM's going all electric by 2035 or something like that?
I've been seeing all the memes
Yeah.
on Facebook
Yeah.
for that where they have the
Yay,
Ford
man.
thought it'd be a good idea to have a 4-door electric Mustang. GM's going all electric by so many years.
Ford's
and
doing
then,
that just for brand
and
recognition.
then you have this S10 with a big radial engine just like crushing the hood and says Dodge is just putting the biggest thing in every car they can.
I mean, you have to.
Oh yeah, that meme is great.
A Hellcat minivan. I mean, if I ever have kids, that's the minivan I want because you're gonna smoke 90% of the cars on the road you see, just because you can.
Just because you can.
That is literally the only reason that Dodge is doing that is because they can.
And sometimes
I
that's
mean, it's
all
good
you
marketing. I mean, they put it what? I wish they'd come back with the Magnum. I'm a sucker for wagons. So you have it's in the Challenger, it's in
I
the
did like-
Charger, it's in the Grand Cherokee, it's in a Ram now. Just bring back the Magnum and put it in a wagon. Hellcat Magnum. That'd be awesome. Nobody's taking. Everybody wants the fuel economy and electric. And I mean, I like the technology. Don't get me wrong. I like hooking up my phone and reading text messages or syncing Bluetooth or stuff like that. But
What about self-driving cars? I know you enjoy to drive.
so I have not driven. So Cadillac is the one that actually has the autonomous. I forget what they call it, but Cadillac's the one that actually has the self-drivingness automation. But I think it's only on certain roads. Like I think there's a section of like it's more prevalent in like California and whatnot because they're hippies like that. But I think there's a section of the Ohio Turnpike that actually has an autonomous, like it's gridded and set up because basically it's got to read like magnets or something in the road lines and whatnot to stay straight and whatnot. But I've driven like a lot of the Buicks and GMCs. They have like the collision avoidance.
Yeah, and the lane assist.
Right. And to me, it's annoying, but
Yeah, when it dings every time you might move a little too far.
My
Right.
parents complain about their Lexus all the time.
Even Subaru now. I mean, my dad's is. I mean, you move an inch and it dings. I
Right.
mean, you're still well within the lines.
right. Yeah, no. There's different levels of it, and like dinging, or it'll vibrate the seat, and it'll vibrate which side of the seat. So if you're drifting left, it'll vibrate the left side of the seat, and the same for the right. And then it'll just straight up correct, like you are a bad driver, and just straight up correct it on your.
So
on itself.
essentially, if you're a very good driver, you can give yourself a massage as you go down the road.
There are massaging seats on some of the cars now.
No, but you could do it for fun by going a little bit of left, a little bit of right.
Right.
Those guys,
So you get somebody call you on it.
Yeah. Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?
Right.
what I was going to say is those guys were enjoying their force feedback controllers way too much back in the day.
Right.
I mean, those were probably the kids that used the Wavebird on GameCube.
That's funny. Yeah. The problem is, the problem is on the trucks, the 14 to 19 SUVs, the Yukons, your Suburbans, I assume the Cadillacs are the same way. The little haptic motors that are in the seat for the left and right, if they crap out, that just straight up disables your entire blind spot or lane keep assist system.
Even just having the little haptic motors go out.
Yeah. It just straight up like, nope, I quit. Like, not even like, okay, we'll send, we'll put a warning light on, but it'll still like beep at you and self-correct itself. No, it's like, no, I'm done. These haptic motors, they just crap out. Yeah, I'm done. We're not working now.
And this is why mechanics love engineers, correct?
Right. Like, they can't even do it. So the next thing is, and they're going towards it, and in a way, it's good. In a way, it's infuriating. Because on paper, it should work fantastically. Except for everybody knows that it doesn't work like that. But, like, so there's a new GM electrical architecture, basically, a wiring system. The new Vets have it, which I haven't messed with any of those, nor have I seen any of those. But the new Yukons and Suburbans have it. And before, on basically any GM since programming existed, at least OBD2 and not just PROM chips, you had to have the key on, basically turn all loads off and make sure the battery's good. And then you went through either downloading it or just like direct connecting it from the internet to program the latest update into whatever module wanted. Well, now it's with the key off. Because what I guess GM is attempting to do is eventually get away from going to the dealer and programming. It will just automatically update a module on the fly.
From the Wi-Fi that it's connected to.
Yeah, basically. In your car, which has already got built-in Wi-Fi and all that stuff built into it.
Hackers. Just wait for the hackers.
Oh, yeah.
Driving down the road.
It's going to be a freaking disaster.
Yeah, we're going to go and take control of your vehicle. No
Right.
lane assist for you.
Wasn't there an article not that long ago that they did that to a Dodge and it wasn't that freaking hard?
Yeah, there's been
Like
a
a
number
year
of
or two
articles
ago?
over the years.
Like they hacked into a Dodge and just straight up like this was not hard and hacked it.
This is why everybody needs a non-GPS track vehicle of some sort.
Right.
Carburetor and everything.
That's true.
Also, I've been told it's the greatest way to get rid of evidence. Just don't take your cell phone.
They will track it.
Is that something Dan would say to you at work?
You hit the nail on the proverbial head.
I had talked to him about coming on this at some point. He says he will, but it'll be hard to control his...
Swearing?
No.
Oh.
Keeping him on topic.
Oh.
He likes to, and I quote, pontificate.
Oh, really?
It's great. It's great. We just have to watch what trigger words we say around him.
He's not a snowflake, but he has
that's the
a lot
first
of
thing that popped in
triggers.
my head. Like, how can we trigger somebody? We triggered a guy at work because we just called him Craig. He got upset and called his parents and everything. We called him Craig. That was his name. I swear to you.
Did he not identify as Craig?
No, his name was not Craig. I don't remember what his name was. But we just called him Craig, and he did not like it. And then he played the intersectional race card that we were making fun of him. And we're not. I forget who, he looked like somebody, and a character he played was named Craig in like a movie. And so we just called him Craig. Oh, he got all butthurt about that.
Speaking of names, why don't we all introduce ourselves, starting with our host?
Well, I'm Kyle. You've seen me on a couple other videos. I don't really talk on camera that much, but it's going to change. And then we'll go over here.
I am Andy.
You're a GM technician.
I am a GM tech.
He's probably one of the smartest ones in the room when it comes to cars.
In the room. That's a good way to put it. And then, I don't know, been doing GM cars for 8-9 years now. on and off.
You did Mitsubishi there for a minute too,
Yeah,
didn't you?
Mitsubishi can go to hell. That was a terrible time. That company can go to hell. And then there's this guy.
And then there's me.
Oh.
We're having technical
I
difficulties.
hope. Oh well. If we weren't on video introducing ourselves, it was Richard the entire time.
Right.
Aha.
My finger slipped on the little button.
That's unfortunate. The soothing sounds of Richard. I hope you all got to hear them. But my name is Richard. I'm a car enthusiast. I do all my own maintenance, pretty much everything, other than I didn't do my transmission, but I haven't died yet. So, and no wheels have fallen off.
Well,
so
you replaced the transmission.
yes.
You didn't rebuild the transmission.
No.
Well, there are a lot of automotive technicians out there that wouldn't even touch a cracked case. I mean, if you told them to split the case, well, you don't really split transmission case, but if you told them to disassemble that transmission, they're gonna look at you, no way.
Oh, I can take it apart. I can't guarantee it going back together.
Oh, I could have probably taken
Right,
it apart,
right.
but it would definitely not have ran.
No, transmissions are definitely one of the things that I pay somebody who knows who that does it, which is a dying breed. And if you know what you're doing, you can make money at it, especially independent wise. Independent shop wise, you can make money. In a dealership wise, unless you have like a fleet contract, I mean, these powertrain warranties are pretty stinking good, and you're getting screwed out of warranty.
Well, and that was one of the things. I took my ASC
Right.
and automatic transmissions and transaxles because I know that's a freaking moneymaker. And when we get the whole property thing figured out with my, between me and my parents selling this place, them building their barn down and us doing a house, one of the sections in the garage is going to be set up. Well, the shop is going to be set up as an automatic transmission rebuild station, because that's something that I would like to get into because you can make decent money at it. That's something that I could be known for.
Yeah, if you're good at it, you can make some serious money. It takes a lot of practice.
It does.
It takes a lot of practice and a lot of training, especially if you want to be specific on certain brands. You know what I'm saying? From what I understand, GM's already gone out with the 10 speeds for the rear wheel drives, the 9 speeds for the front wheel drives, and they're dipping back into the CVT trans on some of the other cars.
That's the stuff that I wouldn't even touch. I'd be talking like
Well,
the 4L60, 700R4, C6,
Oh, see,
C4.
those are dying. Those are dying. The new thing,
Power glides.
yeah, they're not dead, obviously, but they're dying. You're just gonna eventually it's not gonna be that much of a demand per se for them.
Right, you're just gonna find them in the hot rod market.
And then you're gonna get the next wave is, as far as GMs, you have the 6 speeds, which have proven to be mediocre. Then you have the 8 speeds, which have been proven to be terrible. And then the 10 speeds are pretty stinking new. The problem is when you drive one of those, like 10 speeds, you drive it and you're like, why does it need all
I
this?
feel like it's just
Like,
gonna
what
sit
was
there and
wrong
shift
with-
and shift.
Yeah,
and
that's
shift
all
and
it does.
shift and shift.
Like, what was wrong with just 4 speeds?
Fuel economy, man. We got to
That's
save the
exactly
planet.
right.
So I just got a new work truck. It's a 2020 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD.
Yep.
What transmission would be in that? 6-speed then? I don't think it's a 5.
2500 on a 2020. Does that have that 6.6 gas?
Yes.
It's either going to be an 8-speed or a 10-speed.
Apparently, I cannot count my speeds. I'll have to look.
I mean,
was
you
just
can just put
curious.
it in manual mode and just try and
Well-
upshift it till it stops.
I did. It only went to 6.
It might be a 6-speed. I don't remember. I
'Cause I
thought
was-
they. I mean, I guess because of 3/4 ton, it might be the beefy 6L90 or something.
But yeah, because I
But-
dropped it down, used the button from 1 to 6, but I couldn't go any higher than that. Now, maybe I wasn't going fast enough. I don't
That's possible. The 6 speeds, they just have been it's been meh. Like, I think it's due to maintenance and what the assembly plant worker felt like that day. Like, because some of them have been fine.
Right.
And then some of them have just like straight up grenaded. And because customers are not always truthful, there is not always a good, nice, clear, concise backstory. Usually you just get car does not move.
I mean, that
Like,
isn't
okay, so the
accurate
owner,
description.
all right, if it wasn't for the owner, I'll tell you a story. There's one guy who blew up his 6-speed, like, grenaded it, the input shaft, right? We open up the hood, and it's like a, I don't know, 15, 16 Sierra, right?
Right.
Open up the hood, and there's all kinds of exposed wiring. There's all kinds of, like, weird extra sensors added onto it. The guy was, like, had, I don't know, a Roots type charger on it
Right.
with, I don't know, a small shot on it, but put it back to factory to get it towed back to the dealership. And because it's the owner's friend, had the transmission rebuilt or replaced under warranty.
Man, I'd be lucky to have it all done
Right.
under warranty like that. What a joke.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, the diesels, if you even, like, I mean, it's almost to the point where if you even think about putting, bully dog or something on it, thinking about it and to avoid your warranty. Like, GM is not kidding around. I don't know what Mopar and Ford are, but, like, GM is not kidding around. You do not mess with anything with the tuning of the powertrain or deletion of the powertrain if you want things under warranty. Anything under warranty. Whether it might be beneficial to or not, deleting EGRs, stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not a diesel guy, so I don't, like, the guy next to me he's the diesel guy. And it's been kind of slow, so I've been helping him with a 6.4 Power Stroke out of this tired F-250 with a 6.4 in it. Everything has broken. Every bolt is rusted. They put, like, that thick of freaking Loctite on every goddamn bolt, and every body bolt to take to lift, because I mean there's no space. Ford engineered it.
Why
you
would
gotta
you-
lift the cab off to do anything, basically.
they don't want it to shake apart.
Oh my god, I'm telling you, like, that freaking thick of Loctite, like, it's not like a couple threads of Loctite, it's that much of threads on that much of a bolt that has Loctite on it, and they, like, every one but one broke.
What color Loctite were they using?
I think it was pink Loctite. It looked like pink, if I remember right.
That's like a never come off Loctite.
Yeah, I know. But they designed it so that you got to take the body off, pull the cab. I mean, GM's the same way on some things, but, Ford is, especially, you have to take the body off. And especially on a 6.4, which is just, it's just there. Like, yeah. And if it wasn't for being in, like, an inconvenient spot on not the stall that it was in,
Right.
he probably would have taken, like, the body, but we basically had to, like, help him kind of assist the body, like, just kind of move it enough where we don't break anything that's connected, like, basically to the point where it's about to break something, like either the parking brake cable that we didn't disconnect, just enough room, because he's replacing the up pipes, from the manifold to the turbo pipes for some kind of code, because used cars sold it, even though we told them that this was a POS F-250 that should have gone to the auction. And then the customer's like,
But it's diesel, man.
I know.
Got to roll coal.
Oh, I don't even know if a 6.4 can roll coal. I don't know if that's possible.
Aren't those ones that sound like vacuum cleaners?
Oh, they're,
Yes.
yeah.
They
My
are the
dad
ones-
has one. Yeah.
They
Yes.
sound like vacuum cleaners.
6.4.
Yeah.
Oof. But it's twin turbo, bruh.
Sounds like a Hoover vacuum cleaner when you drive next to it on the freeway.
Right. Trevor had a 6-liter open straight pipe, and it was just whistling Willie, just like farting whistles, just driving off in the distance. Like every time he got rid of it for a Dynamax, got himself a dually. I don't know. I have no use for a diesel. Jeff's got the Mini Max, then the Colorado.
Yeah, but that's still not a heavy duty truck.
No, but it can tow what a 1500 can, from what
Yeah.
I understand.
And they get obnoxiously good gas mileage.
and he did, because it's at a powertrain. He deleted. I was talking to him, and he deleted some stuff like emission stuff because
Jeff did.
government. But
Well, he works for the government. Nobody's
I
ever
know.
going to catch him.
Right. But
Yeah,
he
we live in
deleted, like, I
Ohio.
don't know, the EGR or something. And he said he gets, like, more power, better gas mileage. Like, yeah, because government got to make diesels, like, you know, they just imagine. I mean, I get where they're coming from, but they just imagine just rolling coal on every diesel ever made. Like, Europe is fine. One in, like, every 3 cars is a diesel over in Europe. But in America is...
They all cheat. Every
Oh, yeah.
manufacturer cheats.
So I was watching that, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago, the Volkswagen scandal, right? And the narrator guy was like, yeah, I had a TDI Jetta, and I feel like I've been letting the world down because Volkswagen cheated. And I'm like, dude, it's not that big a deal. Like, your world is not coming to an end because you bought a TDI Jetta, which already gets like 40, 50 miles a gallon. You know, on a practical car, like I would rock a TDI Jetta as a daily driver, like a manual Jetta wagon or hatchback TDI. Like I would rock that and then dump it before all the electronics crap out. But, you know, it's a solid car, but he was like devastated. He thought it was like the worst thing. Sin committed.
Literally, the only reason that I drive a Civic is because it gets good gas mileage. It's not for the environment. It's because it's cheap to get from place to place. Now you see these people with the Teslas and stuff with their little green saying license plates.
Yeah.
We're in Ohio, bro. You're on coal power.
Right.
I actually did the math based on, you know, you got to figure in some losses for the generation and stuff, but my Civic is more environmentally friendly as far as total CO2 created going the same distance as a Tesla on coal generated electricity.
Because it's like,
now it's close. So you get a super duper fancy effing car that's just a little bit worse than my 2007 Honda Civic.
I thought it's something to do with the amount of emissions it takes to get to the special, I guess they call it rare earth metal that's in the batteries.
The neodymium.
Right. The amount of emissions it takes to just extract that kind of metal to make the batteries is like the equivalent of a gas engine driving X amount of miles. So it kind of just balances out. So you're just, you know.
Well, because they really are rolling coal
Yeah.
to get that out. I mean, you got to think all the trucks they're using, none of those are gas. They're all going to be diesel.
I mean,
5 miles a gallon kind of thing.
It's not quite there yet. I'm not like anti gas engine. I mean it's enticing. You instant torque. Electric motors are instant freaking torque. My problem is range and how quickly I can get that range back.
Dude, and
So
you're
if I
going to be
can get-
sitting there, you're like 100 miles
and
into
also-
a trip, and you're going to be
and
like,
also
I hope I have enough to get home.
Right. Also affordability, right? Which will come in time. Like once these hoity-toity people keep buying Teslas and whatnot, the manufacturing process, the technology will get cheaper. It'll get better. Like it's just not there yet.
Everything's going towards graphene.
Right.
I mean, that's the future. I feel like.
And so once you can get, you know, a 400 to 500 miles out of a $30,000 to $40,000, you know, price range, and charge, you know, at least most of it within a reasonable amount of time, with which will come in time is the infrastructure,
Right.
obviously, because I mean, like in DC area, charge points are everywhere, like
right,
everywhere.
But then
But
the other
Columbus,
issue that you have is once cars trade hands, or you know what are they having? They're having issues with some of these rebuild or YouTube dudes that take these
well,
totaled out Teslas and they lose their supercharge or quick charge capabilities
Yeah,
because it's been.
I'm not too. I know I've read that before. I'm not too like Like, is it a subscription service or
It's
like
a
a by
software
VIN?
lockout.
Huh. And there was also an article I read. It was like some early Tesla owners were having I guess there's like a module that basically captures data, but it's central to the communication line through all the modules. And once this data fills up, it basically locks the car, like undrivable. And Tesla's not releasing new modules. So basically, you have a bricked car. And apparently, it's like the aftermarket that has, from what I understand, has like tried to remedy this. But it basically records your driving and things of that nature. And whatever this module is bricks once it gets so full. And then it just locks the car. You're not driving. Which is ridiculous to me. But what the scary thing is cars talking to each other on the road. Once this 5G network and this new electrical platform, cars will be talking to each other consistently on the road. You just be driving by a random stranger's car passing them, and they'll just pass information.
Well, that's going to be key to having fully autonomous vehicles on the road, is they all have to know where they are.
The average speed.
Right.
Right. And I mean, another like one of those like torn 50-50 on, because it's crappy when it happens to you, but I know the reason why they do it is there's a proposal of like the infotainment system, like it'll just flash advertisements. Like once this new 5G network, you'd just be driving and having the infotainment and there'd just be an ad, just a random ad.
I'm already irritated.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen this. I haven't heard of this, but as soon as he said it,
Yeah.
I have this irritation in
Yeah.
the pit of my chest.
And then there's like like I forget, I'm pretty sure GM's doing it. I imagine other companies are doing it, but they're doing intellectual property of these like infotainment systems and even like the locking of ECMs for like tuning, especially Duramax. The diesel
Well,
guys.
they had
are
already
like that,
said
but-
something about the Corvette being difficult
Right,
because there
right.
were some lockouts on the tuners.
But
or some
especially-
lockouts on the access to the software.
especially infotainment systems. I guess because so much goes into them. I don't know how that would work, but
We're delving dangerously close into the "you will own nothing and be happy"
Right.
conversation that it seems like everybody's having.
right. Well, it's just like iTunes or like Netflix, or like even if you were to rent a video online, like you didn't actually buy that video for $10. You're just renting the right to watch that video for X amount of days. Like
Yes,
once,
but as we've all seen, pirating is not a victimless crime.
So, I mean, like, if you get physical copies, I don't know how you would do that with infotainment systems, but as far as DVDs and CDs and whatnot, like my Spotify account would just be dead. Like, if I don't pay it, that whole playlist is gone, you know?
I feel like
Even though I've given them, what is it, $120 a year,
right,
$10 a month.
Well, I mean, the automotive manufacturers are never gonna take care of this. It's gonna have to be a government issue, and with the speed the speed that the government runs it, probably never gonna happen. But the whole right to repair argument kind of falls in with this, because if you have bought a vehicle that has software installed in that vehicle, yeah, that is the IP of the company. You can't copy it and distribute it, whatever. If it is installed in the vehicle when you buy it, you ought to be able to repair anything in that vehicle.
Yeah. Wasn't there a case being like John Deere was the same way?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
against farmers, like not being able to work on it, like in the
You
time
have
of
to be
need on the
you
field.
basically
like-
have to hack into it to be able to work on it.
That or pay an exuberant amount of money to have a John Deere technician come out and fix it for you.
Right. And so the elite brands, they've already got that. That's already been a thing.
Yeah.
But the common man brands you think of, even, GM, Ford, Nissan, Toyota, Honda, all that. I mean, it's going to get to a point. I mean, GM, I I know GM at least tries to, for the first few years, lock you out, especially on parts. And I'll tell you what they have done that comes to my mind right now is every module basically now is VIN locked. So when I program a module, it is programmed into that module, the VIN. So what you can't do anymore is go to a junkyard, get a radio, and put it in your car, even though it's the same make and model and year, it won't work. It's VIN locked. And you have to buy either an unlocked module or a new module.
And I'm assuming manufacturers only can unlock those.
Right. And so, like, only approved, like, GM uses, I think, Specmo, which refurbishes radios for many years. They've been doing it for many years. And, I mean, so radios now, even in the brand new work truck, the screen is a screen. The module is actually hidden usually under the glove box, like the actual radio that gets the antenna feed.
Okay.
And the controls are a separate module sometimes. Yeah, on my Buick it's that. Now on the Blazer, it's just a crappy Walmart $20 Pioneer system that I just replaced because the one that was in it was terrible. You know, that's a radio all in one.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like, it can get, as far as like Cadillacs and the higher GMs, it can get 5 or 6 modules deep on their own communication lines. Yeah. Which
now,
is
you tell me nobody's going to be stealing these radios anymore because they're all specialty fit.
Right.
They're all, you can only put it in another of the exact same vehicle. Why would you VIN lock something that the chances of it actually being stolen are limited?
Because they want their money. They want their money on and cut down on. They say they hide behind the cut down on theft, but where they freaking put these, like, on these new cars, like, the screen is basically a display. All it is just this TV or PC screen, touch screen, on a lot of the very new stuff.
Yeah, same with my work truck.
The actual module, especially on GMs, there's 2 actual modules that do work. You have the radio that works, the actual like FM and XM, gets the inputs, sends it to the screen and to the, either it has an amplifier or it doesn't, and sends it out to the speakers. Then you have what they call an HMI module, which is a human interface control module. And that basically is the one that works your cell phone, all the internet connectivity, and
so Bluetooth that's showing your
Bluetooth
battery,
and
how much signal you have.
Right. And that module also works the screen, the touch functions of the screen.
To the tactile sense. Yeah.
And those modules are usually so deep buried into the, usually underneath the dash somewhere, that it's not like just like, a couple screwdrivers pop this easy radio out. And again, they're VIN locked, so you can't, even if you do steal them, you can't, I don't know how to unlock them. I mean, that might be Hacker 101 that is beyond my purview of things, but I don't know how you can unlock them.
They're going to be able to break it at some point.
Oh, you can, because that's how the refurbished company does them. I mean, like Specmo, there's always a core. Right. So you got to send them back, and somehow they unlock them. There's a way to unlock them. I have no idea what that I have no idea what that is.
Well, I mean, I've already heard that they've managed to spoof the Corvette's ECUs.
Oh, I believe it.
Already.
I believe it. There's so many credits and whatnot as far as like HP tuners is concerned.
Right.
I mean, it's expensive. I mean, you got to pay at first, especially you got to pay the people that took the time to figure out how to unlock it.
Right.
So they want some of their, pain and suffering back. So.
Well, I was like, what was it? Hondata for a long time was you had to mail it to them, but now you're allowed to
Oh, really?
I don't know how Hondata works, but I know when the Civic was new, you have to used to mail the stuff out. Now you don't have to.
Really?
I guess you have some like pre-tuned maps that you can load on yourself. I'm not sure. I don't really follow the import tuner stuff anymore.
No, I don't know much. I mean, as far as like GM, I remember the Camaro was, I don't know, 250, $200, whatever it was to get it tuned. And then the Trailblazer was like 450 because they took extra credits because between an LS1 and an LS2 generation, they upped the security in
Gotcha.
locking the ECM. So you had to pay more.
This reminds me, I recently got a Hyundai Elantra 2014. I replaced my 2006 with it for a heck of a good deal. My old crappy car in $1,500. So I thought it was a good trade up. However, it did not come with key fobs. So I, being old school, I guess, figured I would just order a key fob and program it myself. No. I called the dealership here in Columbus, and I was told you have two options. You come to us, and it's $250 to get a new key fob and have us program it for you. Or you can add a remote start and just have them do it. Not the dealership. Anyone.
Go to like Best Buy or Columbus Car
And
Audio.
he said it's going to be
aftermarket.
This was directly from a guy at the dealership. It is going to be cheaper for you to add a remote start to your vehicle to have a key fob than it is to bring it to us.
I mean, I don't know how Hyundais are, but
All right, so we were talking before our pizza break here about you getting new fobs.
Yes, on my Hyundai. So, yes, I was told by the dealership, well, not the dealership, someone in service or parts there, that it would be cheaper for me to have a remote start installed on my car than to come to them and have a key fob programmed to just unlock my
seems
doors.
ridiculous. Like, I mean, I guess. I mean, what year was it again?
It's a 2014 Hyundai Elantra.
I mean, you can imagine. Like, if I remember right, like in 06 GM, 05, 06 GM started using this one style, like kind of changed up their key fob to like 2013 or so, 14. And some all the way to 17. But even then, like the one with the most amount of buttons is like $120. And I can't imagine Hyundai like any more than an hour labor. And their labor rate cannot be $150 an hour or something.
Well, here's the crazy thing is I don't have trunk release. I don't have automatic start. This is a simple
just
unlock
lock and unlock.
and unlock.
Yeah.
And
I can't imagine that key fob being more than $50, $60 at the most. Like GM's ones that are like that, you know, just lock, unlock, and an alarm. And it was, I don't know, they're like 50, 60. But they used to be retarded expensive, but they've come down a lot since they've made different generations of key fobs now.
I mean, I missed my 2002 Subaru Forester. I ordered a key fob off the internet for like $30, and I programmed it myself, and it worked. It was great.
I had one yesterday. Dude brought in his key fob. Actually, that one key fob I was just talking about, put it off. I don't know. It had like an AutoZone receipt. Yeah, it didn't program.
Yeah,
it didn't program.
This was a Subaru key fob.
But I didn't charge him. I wasn't.
Yeah,
you know, a super bad person. Because key fobs. I mean, the dirty secret about key fobs is, like, it takes me 2 seconds. The ones that actually do take me a long time is the ones that are the push buttons. Yeah. Like the actual push button start, because there's an actual sequence you have to use and do through the scan tool. That does take quite a bit of time. But if you actually have just a key, an actual key with a working, like let's say you're just adding a key, yeah, it takes like dealerships are making money. Let's put it that way. Like even the half an hour, $50, they're, you know, charging you. Yeah.
So now
making money.
Now the question is, do I just get a remote start? Or do I just say no key fob at all and just be...
I mean, personally, I don't trust the aftermarket remote starts as far as I can throw them. I mean, it'd be nice, but it depends.
What about a Hyundai remote start?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if Hyundai offers, like, a remote start package, I would go for that over, you know, a Best Buy special. Because...
Now the question for this, though, is... Did they really understand what you were wanting?
Oh, I was very clear. I said I buy.
Because yours is just a separate key, and then you have a key fob. right?
Yes, so
Yeah,
it's
all right.
just
I know what
you
you're
can
talking
separate
about.
from one another. I was very clear. I said I have 2 keys, but
Yeah.
I did not receive a fob with either of them, and I want to be able to lock and unlock my doors because
We're about to look this up on the fly
Hyundai,
here.
at least my Hyundai, the only key port is on the driver's side.
Right.
So if you need to go to the passenger side, you have to walk all the way around. There's also no trunk. There's no key hole on the trunk either.
My Buick, like that's the one gripe. The only way to unlock the trunk is either from the inside, the button on the inside,
Yep.
or the key fob. There's no button on the back side. There's no keyhole on the back side. That's the only gripe. I
Right.
have
So to
for the
open my
Buick.
trunk, I have to walk around to the driver's side,
Right.
unlock the door, and then pull the button or the release on the floor. And when you're getting groceries, stuff like that, taking recycling, whatever, it's
Right.
inconvenient at best.
I don't even know where they would be at. Let's just do a search here.
So did they actually tell you what the estimate was going to be if they wanted to if you just wanted reprogrammed fobs for your car?
To just get a reprogram was $175.
Woof. Just for a
Seriously.
key fob?
Yeah. It was
Woof,
$250
dude. That
if I
is-
had to bring my own key, if I needed to purchase a key fob.
Dude,
Wait, so
that's-
it's cheaper to use their in-house key fobs that they had.
Yes.
Now, and this was just a Hyundai replacement and not the actual like remote start that they were talking about.
Yes.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that is super ridiculous.
So needless
That
to say,
is-
I did not do it because $250 is a lot just to
Yeah, you ain't
have the
kidding.
convenience of
Right.
unlocking your doors. Now, had I hit the Mega Millions, I wouldn't have a Hyundai.
Okay, here we go. Yours is not a smart key.
No.
I mean, Dorman makes one for $7. I'm just looking at it up. Now, again, you could be in the same situation that guy I had with the Malibu yesterday. Like that key fob doesn't work, but you're out $7.
Versus,
So
yeah.
$250 over a $7.
The problem is that
Key
even if
fob.
I buy my own key fob, they
Right.
said they have to program it.
True,
And
which is probably true. Like that part is true. Now, how much it actually they charge you? I mean, that's
there's no
like-
way their physical key fob costs them $75.
yeah. I mean, they're gonna sell it for whatever over the counter price is. But I'm just saying, like, as far as the labor time, like, at least for us, there's a half an hour. If it's a key, like an actual cylinder coated key,
Okay.
that's a half an hour labor rate programming. And then if it's a key fob, like an actual, like yours would be, like an actual separate key fob from the key programming, that's also a half an hour. But if it's a push button, usually the push buttons are like key fob and key all in one
Yeah.
giant deal. Those are an hour because it takes much longer. But even in the half an hour, the hours sometimes can actually take an hour because they're a pain in the butt. But I mean, half an hour is generous to us as a technician in the shop. Like some of the keys, you don't even need any tools, especially if you have an original key. You don't even need special tools. Like sometimes I feel bad.
I mean, like on my truck, if I had a key that got unpaired somehow, and I paired it myself just
Right.
by honking
You
the
used to
horn
be able
and
to do
using
it
the
yourself.
pedal.
There was, I think it was OBD1. I remember the old Saturns. You had to basically take a paperclip, pin X and Y on the DLC, and the horn would burp twice.
Yeah.
And it would be in program mode, and you would just program the key.
Yeah,
fob
that's how
that
my
way.
truck is.
Yeah.
Not that step, but same process.
Yeah. It was something like that. I don't remember which pin it was. But it was something like that. And but for the most part, you got to use a scan tool for most, unless they, a manufacturer is super generous, which they usually are not.
Gotta make that bread.
Right.
You look like you've got something to say.
No, I'm just listening right now.
I'm sorry.
Ranting about key fobs and keys.
Hey, it is what it is.
They've
Living
gotten
life.
expensive. GM redesigned the new key design, I guess. Redesigned the new design. That makes a whole lot of sense. But they redesigned their new, I guess, key look. Boy, them suckers are expensive.
I just want to appreciate when you get into the 2000s and you start having the electronically coded keys.
Yeah.
Like my Silverado. If I lost one, I would never replace it.
Okay, so that brings up an interesting topic. So the old keys, like an actual old cylinder key.
Yeah, like a 2004
basically,
truck.
Basically, any car that doesn't have push button, if you lose a key, you have to actually buy 2 keys. And I got to program 2 keys. You can't just, like, on an old one.
That's the way it was with Heather's Lexus.
Yeah. If you lose a key and you don't have any keys and you get it towed to the shop and it's a push button start, you have to buy 2 keys or the computer won't learn, basically. It's got to have 2 keys in the system to actually unlock it and let it, learn the theft deterrent and whatnot. Yeah. That's always nice.
So, by the way, sorry about this, but you're actually
Now
gonna
it's
have to get...
doubly expensive, right? So that's, another way of them getting you.
So, we've been talking about some random stuff. Let's kind of go around the table. We'll start with Richard. You've had some project cars in the past. And we're circling back to Alpha again. But I know you're going to enjoy telling this story. So let's hear about your Alpha.
Oh, my Alpha. I moved back from Colorado in 2012 to Ohio. And I decided that I wanted a project car, something to keep me busy. I spent months looking at old rotted out Mustangs and, pretty much anything. I'm a Chevy guy, but there were some what looked like nice Mustangs. And I like the Mach 1 style, but they all, the front end's rusted out or this is rusted out or whatever. So finally I found this Alpha. They call it that. It was 1985 GTV6 Alfa Romeo. People called it back then the poor man Ferrari because the valves kind of chattered just a little bit. That's how it's supposed to sound. 5-speed, beautiful body on it. It actually was a transaxle, had a 51-49 split. Beautiful car, run a bunch of rally races back in the day.
Pedigree.
Oh yeah, they also made like 500 of them were dual turbo, and I would still die to have one. They were 0 to 60 in like 5.2, which back in '85 was, just
freaking screaming, dude.
Yeah. So I found this guy. He had a lift. And I was like, yeah, let's look at it. It had a bunch of parts. So with the transaxle, there was a donut in the middle. So, the flex and everything. And I looked it all over. He let me drive it. Needed a little here or there. Drove fine. So I took it home, started going through the restoration process as much as you can as a, 20-year-old.
Right.
With no garage or shop to work in. Just parked in the barn. And replaced the donut because it was cracked. He already had one. Replaced the exhaust. Head gaskets, a few other little simpler projects just to get it started. So I finally had it where I wanted. Flush radiator, I just bought a new car, even a new car. I'm going to take care of
every single car I do that.
All the fluids, filters, anything that can be replaced. I went ahead and got it done. I've had it about 3 months now. I put a new battery in it and I grabbed my mom. I'm like, let's go for a ride. I lived on a dirt road at the time, and being a rally car, I like to go fast around the turns and drift around the turns. So we go out and we're going through and we hit a turn a little hard. And my mom's like, I think my foot's going to go through the floor. I'm like, what? Because Alphas, especially those style, the Romeo,
right,
very bad about running out that front quarter panel or the wheel well there or the floor pan. That was the first thing I looked at. He had it on the lift. Beautifully undercoated, told me he restored it all. So
please tell me your mom fell through the floor. That'd be
so her heel goes through the floor and I can now see the dirt road. So my mom is freaking out. So we go back and she's like, I'm never riding that death trap again. I'm like, okay. So I pull out the entire interior. I take out the 2 front seats, all the speakers. I finally get the carpet off the ground. Ugh. Well, the guy I bought it from, who said he had replaced the pans, fiberglassed underneath just enough to make it sturdy so when you knocked on it, it didn't give any, and then undercoated it. He did a great job undercoating. I have to give it to him.
Right.
But when you took the carpet off, all you saw for 3/4 of the floor pan on both sides was fiberglass.
Oh, geez.
And he had reinforced my side, so there was no give to it. But I'd never been in the passenger side before, so I didn't know. So I'm going through it. I'm like, I only paid like $1,200 for the car, but I really liked it. I wanted to keep it. There were pictures of it rally racing that I still have at my house, and I was like, it was just a cool piece of history.
Right.
So I go online. I'm searching. Of course, at this point, back then, Alpha was not in the States anymore.
Right.
Right.
And the car, had I been able to fix it, about like $3,000 car. You know, but it's just something to tinker around. It's fun. You see a lot of spiders. You don't see a lot of GTV6s on the road.
I mean, the first thing you think of Alpha, especially old Alpha, at least to me, being from the U.S., is the spiders.
Yeah. And you can find them anywhere. You see them all the time. But a GTV6 are those.
No, you don't see that.
You don't see them. So,
Right. I think I've seen one out in the wild, just running around.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen one outside of a car show.
So I wanted 4 pans. I'm a horrible welder, but I have plenty of friends who could weld.
Right.
And I was like, I'll get 4 pans. Couldn't find any in the States. I found some in Britain. They wanted like, I think it was like 300 quid a piece. I was like, okay, I can handle that. It's fine. I really like this car. I want to keep it.
Was it
And
like
then
a gray?
came the shipping.
And
Right, I was
then
gonna say.
came the shipping. It was going to be $700. So almost the same cost, $700 American dollars to get it shipped here.
Woof.
And it was heartbreaking because the front 4 pan is, I mean, it was 3.5 feet long, 2 feet wide. Just a horrible thing to ship. So that was heartbreaking. So I was like, all right, I'm going to sell it. I left the seat out on the passenger side. I posted on Craigslist for like $2,000. And finally I had this guy. He's like, hey man, I'll give you $1,500 for it. I'm like, well, just the parts I have alone, this and this. I said, pretty firm on 2,000. So he showed up to my house and he's like, I got your $1,500 cash. I said, you do $1,750, you can take it. And
Right.
I'm like, but first you got to tell me what you're going to do with it.
I need to know if it's going to go to a good home or not.
I'm like, are you going to restore it? He said, yeah. He's like, he had a bunch of photos on his phone, and he even had a little binder full of cars he had restored. So I sell it to him, and we sign the title and everything like that. I call him. He's like, give me a call anytime, and I'll let you know the progress of it. Well, I call him like a week later. Phone number's disconnected. I end up looking all over the internet. I find it. He parted it out.
Really?
The whole thing. He was he was just a wheeler dealer.
Wow.
And he just, that car doesn't even exist
some cars
anymore.
deserve that fate.
This
some
one
cars
didn't,
didn't.
though.
Right.
I didn't think. I mean, the factory AC worked.
That's impressive.
Heat worked. Radio worked.
I'm
Literally.
surprised you didn't fab it's not like I have any welding or fabrication experience, but it seems like, at that point I would have like sheet metaled something together.
Right. But that was
Of course, that would kind of ruin the restoration of it, or at least the purity of the restoration.
right. Because when I get a car, I like to keep it as factory as possible. And
Right.
I'm a horrible welder. I can get metal to stick, but I can't weld. And I still breaks my heart about that car. And that
Yeah.
was my first project. And I still miss it. It was a great car. It was an awful car, but it was a great car at the same time.
Yeah.
My next project is going to be, my grandfather has a 1983 El Camino. It was a 6-speed or a 6-cylinder originally, and then somebody put a big block in it. But now it's just sitting in Virginia rotting. So
I haven't heard about that in years.
I
was still working for
That reminds
for your company.
Yeah.
Last time.
It's still sitting down there, and I'm trying to convince him to. I've got a garage. Just bought a house, so I've got a garage I can put it in. I'm trying to convince him to just let me. Ooh,
that came in. I forget what year is that. 85, 84. but it's like
mid 80s. And
it's,
is that a true SS?
so they never actually made a true SS
Oh, in
in the El Camino, but this had I forget what was the company. It's like Choo Choo Customs or something, and it was this company that like an upfitter company.
Yeah.
And they put this ridiculous, when it's zoomed in, this like fake side exit exhaust
Yeah.
on it. And that was an option you could get. As
Wait,
an
so that's not
apparent-
even a real
That's
exhaust?
not even real. And then they did put the SS front end on it.
Yeah.
So they put the Monty's front end on the El Camino. And
That would look badass.
from what I understand, they didn't make that very many because they're freaking ugly.
Wow, yeah.
But
Well, that would look a lot better if it didn't have. And you're gonna have to send me this or send me that photo. So when you don't have to do it right now, but when I go to edit this,
Right.
I want to be able to put this picture up on the screen because it has the possibility of being really cool. But that side exit, like 80s synthwave looking side exit that's on it, is ugly.
there was
ugly.
a GM magazine. I wanted like GM High Tech when it was still a magazine. I'm pretty sure it was them. They had an article of a guy who didn't have, kind of like me, like dream car was Grand National.
Right.
Dude did not have Grand National money, which I don't have Grand National money, but he had gotten a 80s G-body El Camino. And basically over the course of, I want to say quite a few years, like 10, 15 years, dude put a Grand National front clip in it, Grand National engine in it, and basically turned an El Camino into a Grand National and painted it black, and it looked sick.
That would
But
be
that's
really cool.
It was really cool. It was really unique because as far as G-body goes, El Caminos are down with like the Grand Prix on most hideous ones.
So speaking of the El Camino, I'm hopefully getting for my grandfather. He told me when he dies, I'm definitely getting it. I'm just trying to get it before then. So
Why won't you croak yet?
I just want there to be something left. I mean, he lives outside of DC. It's humid all the time. It's just sitting on bare ground.
Yeah.
Well, Andy over here, he's from DC.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know the conditions. It's
Right.
just
It's only slightly better
yes.
than like here, as far as, basically rust and cancer would just eat a car alive.
Oh yeah, and then the house he's in was the first house for literally hundreds of acres.
Right.
So now it's a 10-acre lot. You've got trees that have been there for 250 years are starting to come down. I mean, you watched.
Oof.
I mean, there's a Ferrari in my uncle's garage that came from his property, a Cougar, a 67.5 Mustang.
Dang.
I mean, my grandfather's had some crazy cars, but he just lets them sit there and rot once they're done. I mean, he had an F100 1952, I think, or no, that's too early. 60s F100. I mean, 3 on the tree, and a freaking tree literally just snapped the frame in half.
Oof.
Weren't the 60s F100s, weren't those the unibody trucks?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
It wasn't unibody when the tree was done with it, I can tell you. But the funny thing is, I VIN coded this car, and it's black now, but I scraped some of the paint off in an inconspicuous spot, and it's purple underneath, and I didn't know that, and it's factory coded for that color.
Really?
It's like
Purple.
It's almost purple. It's like a blue, but
So it's like a violet blue.
yes, it's on that spectrum of getting.
It can't be any worse than my parents. I don't even remember the car as far as like what it originally looked at. My parents told me that they had an 85 Cavalier they bought brand new, and it was some kind of deep purple. All I remember that car was being doo-doo brown. Apparently that paint had faded to basically look like shite. Like,
Yeah.
It looked like doo-doo brown. And I remember that car, like, they gave up on that car and bought another Cavalier. Like, this was like, parents' logic. I mean, I know that, looking back at now, my parents were financially limited to like anybody else, and that was the best car that they could get. But, I mean, my brother and I were big pretty tall, like not big boys, but we were just tall and lanky.
Yeah.
And fitting them behind a Cavalier did not last very long.
No. Oh, real quick, because I just wanted to say this. I sold my Alpha 6 months before Alpha came back to the United States. Had I kept it, even in its horrible shape, probably could have sold it for like $4,500.
Probably could have, actually.
It's just obnoxious. Once they came back, if I had known, one, I'd still have it, but it's just the world is a funny place when it comes to those sorts of things because you don't know.
Well, I mean, like the Trailblazer was like that as far as like I would have not gotten rid of it if I knew that I was going to come into some money.
Right.
But I bailed on it because it's like, well, I need something more reliable. And this is the poor Trailblazer was like on the brink of death.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money at the time to fix it.
And the worst part is you never have enough money to fix it all the way you want.
Right.
And
right. And being the Trailblazer, I wanted to like mod it and all kinds of things. So, yeah.
So I think that brings us to a good point for you to talk about some of your projects.
Well,
over the last couple of years. Now I remember the Trailblazer. I remember you had that Tornado.
Yeah, so that was the first project.
Yeah.
I cashed out this, or I guess borrowed against the 401k at Saturn to get this car. Because I always liked, so a Tornado, I like unique, cool cars.
That's definitely a unique car.
That's out of the norm. And it just fit the bill. Big block Oldsmobile.
That was what, the 428?
425.
425.
425. But it had...
I don't know Oldsmobile, so...
It had a different compression than your regular, like, 88, like Olds 88 or 98
right.
425. And it was front-wheel drive. It was the first mass-produced front-wheel drive car. And basically, GM over-engineered it. They literally put that transaxle in the GMC motorhomes in the 70s.
Right, and that was basically, 70s. That was what, a TH400?
Yeah, basically it was a TH400. So you had a torque converter. So the V8 was mounted longitudinally, just like a normal V8 rear-wheel drive. You had a bell housing, torque converter. Then you basically had a chain and sprocket to TH400 planetaries and a front diff. Like literally, it looked like just the front pumpkin to like the most massive CV axles you've ever seen in your life. And I thought it was cool. It's a cool car. You never see them. It's such an underappreciated car. And basically, I had gotten this car. I had found it. A guy took it in as payment. He knew nothing about cars, but somebody owed him money and had this car. And so it was like in the middle of restoring. And
so far, it was primered. It had most of the interior. It ran.
It didn't run good, but it ran. And I did some things. And again, this was, first starting out, like 07.
And those are the worst cars. Your first project car.
Well, okay, so the
demise, you don't know enough.
The demise of that car, unfortunately, was the economy. The economy crashed. Yep. I couldn't afford squat. I couldn't afford to do anything to this Oldsmobile. I felt really bad for it. I ended up trading it for... I left Saturn and went to do towing. And I ended up basically just like straight up even trade for like a 2000 Pontiac Bonneville. And I made out on that deal. That Bonneville was a great car.
You had that thing for years.
That Bonneville was amazing. That it had like 270,000 miles on it. Ice cold AC.
You also have to understand this was like...
Was that beige one?
No, this was a dark blue and rust.
I remember the beige one you had before this current car. I can't remember what it was.
A beige one. I had...
Or brown. I cannot remember.
Oh. Well, there was... Okay, so for a very brief short time, I had the white Park Avenue.
Okay, that's
the Park Avenue.
That one.
That's what I was thinking about.
That was a sexy car. That was such a pimp car. And I fixed the shocks on it. That thing still... I sold it to another mechanic that he was just going to give it to his daughter for their first car, or son. And I still see that car because he lives in the area. and I see him from time to time still driving that thing. That thing was that car.
Well, those 3800s last forever.
It was the dealership owner's wife's car. So the guy who owned the place I work for now has been bought out like 4 times over its course of like 60 years of existence. This building, it started out as a straight Pontiac dealership, and then it became, I think, just a BOP dealership, and then it basically evolved to the end of the second owner, which was the longest. Like most people know in the area, that's what this dealership was. And it was his wife's car. And then the transmission tech that we have, and he's been there for, we joke and say that he's been there since they poured the concrete, but he's actually retiring next month. But he bought the car and he drove that for a while. And then he sold it to another tech, the guy I bought it from. And he was using it as his winter car. Didn't really care, but was a Ford guy and it had a bunch of Mustangs and actually races Mustangs. And he had bought himself a pickup truck, so he didn't need a winter beater anymore. And so I bought it because I just like big 3800 Buicks. And I think I put air shocks on it, and I think I fixed I think that's why I remember it was the air shocks, because I rode in it before the air shocks. Yeah. And you're like, we might die. Yeah, they were pretty, they were done. But, I mean, it's just a thing that wears out over time. And then we put one of the subframe bushings. So that particular body style, before they updated it to the second generation, the subframe bushings would just kind of rot. And I fixed one of them, or a couple of them. Then I just flipped it to the other guy, the other tech, and he had left. He's no longer working for us, but I still see it driving down to time. That was an okay car. I like that car. And then, after the olds, it was the Camaro, which I had the Camaro while having the olds.
Yeah.
The Camaro was the daily until, like, the insurance rates. Like, I hit the guardrail one time and needed some work done. And that's a whole nother story we can get into later.
That was up in Sunbury.
That was in Galena. That was
that
was coming into Galena.
There's like a dusting of snow on the ground.
Yes.
And the Camaro just decided to go, whoop.
Yep, right in a guardrail. I was like, okay, well, that's the way that is. So my insurance, which was already ridiculous, a 20-year-old kid with a Camaro.
No, that was
the double.
That was what, 00?
That was a 02.
02?
Last year.
And that was just the regular LS1 car. That wasn't an SS or anything.
No, it was just a Z28.
But
just
you had
silver.
You had like SLP intake and exhaust.
Yeah, I had some bolt-on mods. It was okay. It was a fun car. I love that car. Nobody was driving that car ever. And then the Trailblazer kind of relaxed that. And I got to enjoy functionality and go fast. And that was an 06 SS rear-wheel drive. That thing was a boss. And even in the snow, it was a boss, so long as I could get momentum. Coming from a stop or moving from a stop, that was kind of a problem. But so long as I could get that momentum going, I was golden. And
now you had headers and a higher stall converter.
Yeah, that had a built tranny and some bolt-ons.
Full exhaust on it. Sounded great.
Right.
Now your problem was with just regular traffic with your converter, right?
Yeah. Because I'm an idiot and young and naive, I picked a way too big of a converter to go in it. Now, fortunately, when it locked and the external cooler that I didn't route through the radiator, like let me get on a different rant, all right? Some people run...
Are you going to pontificate?
Yeah,
because... we used that word earlier.
Because some people run... I don't understand why you want to run an external cooler through the normal tranny cooler. Like, people do this. It's a thing. Even factory. Now, factory does it for other reasons. But, like, if you're just going to race mod, why are you having it go through 2 coolers? Like, if you're trying to cool your tranny temp down, why are you going through the radiator again? Like, it does not make sense. Anyways, but, like, once it was locked, once the converter was locked, it'd be fine. It'd be fine. I drove from here in Central Ohio back to DC area in like the middle of winter, and that poor tranny cooler that tranny temp didn't get any hotter than like 120. And normally they run like 180-ish, 160-ish, you know, a normal like drive cycle. Like I know on GM's, one time I got it real hot, like scary hot. Princess and I were in DC, and we just happened to come up on like a cammed Vet and a cammed Camaro, and this is like coming out of DC, Northern Virginia, like super bougie area. Like, I'm not entirely sure where we were. I just know it was Northern Virginia, and I know it was bougie town, like Georgetown type, fancy. So I'm like, screw it, let's follow these guys, see where it goes. And I'm hauling it. That poor transmission, like it got up to, I want to say like it got up to like 260, 270, and then it cooled down. And then the scariest, that it got hot, let it cool like that one time in Virginia. But when I was moving back here for the second time, I had the Blazer, which runs on like 7.5 cylinders and can barely carry its own fat butt up a mountain. Dad was driving that. I had a U-Haul with the trailer hitch because the Trailblazer had that, and it wasn't like a ton amount that it needed to haul. But again, the converter. So my whole goal was to just keep the converter locked. And there's a certain section on 68 through the mountains in the Panhandle of Maryland that you go through Cumberland, and Cumberland is in the valley on 68. And you come out of Cumberland going west, and you literally come out of Cumberland up the mountain.
You're talking about that 2-lane section?
Yep.
Yeah.
You come up the mountain. And I was doing good up until somebody cut me off and I had to let off the gas and the converter unlocked. And so that sucker got like 290. Like I had to pull over, like I couldn't, and I was so close to the top. And it was like 290. I'm like, oh my God, I'm melting things on the inside, right? Like things are going to be bad, right? And then, like, because the Trailblazer is farcely superior than the Blazer is, right? This old turd. There goes my dad. I'm pulled over on the side of the mountain. There goes Dad going up the hill. I could hear this thing like turding, like just farting up this mountain, right? Like I get a call from Dad. He's like, "What are you doing?" It's like my tranny got hot. I was like, so I got to take a break. So I get over it, 160 the rest of the way. I had the converter locked the entire way back into Columbus, 160, and never had a problem with it.
But for people who don't know, 68 is super steep in some places, specifically that hill.
Yeah.
It is
people
windy.
From the Panhandle,
it is
Maryland
steep.
area will know what I'm talking about.
But real quick, now that I'm thinking about overheating transmissions, it reminds me of a good time in all three of our lives for a certain bachelor party.
Oh, no.
Where we're going up the mountain in West Virginia, and somebody's truck keeps overheating, and they have to keep stopping every 5 to 10 miles.
Who was that?
He was pulling a trailer. Who was that? It wasn't.
It wasn't Daniel's truck. Oh, was that Shaw's truck? No, it wasn't Shaw's truck.
I just remember we had to keep stopping, and I cannot remember what it was for.
What truck was it? Because
I want to say it was Daniel's because he was pulling that big trailer, and right when you get almost to the top of the mountain, there's some really sharp switchbacks, and I want to say we had to stop right there.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I barely remember anything from that trip.
Right.
I think all of the All of the drinks.
You remember
All
getting
of the
pulled over on the
beverages.
way there, though? We're going down. I don't even know. We're like on 23, somewhere in southern
Oh,
Ohio.
no. That's when you and I went.
Right.
No, we were in the Blazer.
You're right.
We got pulled over. It was on
Yeah.
23. We were going down. We had like just gotten into West Virginia.
It was southern Ohio. It was still in Ohio, but
it was still
deep
southern Ohio.
Southern
but
Ohio.
We were on the drug trail
Yeah.
driving
The
an
drug
old
enforcement.
Blazer.
And my dumbass is like,
You were only like 5 or 6 over.
yeah.
But it was just enough that the cop was like, "Oh, what's this old Blazer doing? I'll
Right.
bet you that's a meth head."
So he asked me
pulls
where
his-
I was going, and I gave the classic answer of, I don't know.
So of course,
I remember
I had
him-
to answer for him. I was like,
Yeah.
"We're going to Crumpler Mountain Resort down in West Virginia. We're going camping for the weekend. We're going to ride some ATVs." And then when I was talking, he saw my little Crown bag with vape stuff in it. He's like, "I need to see what's inside that." I
Yep.
was like, "Why do you need to see what's inside that?" He's like, "Because that's what people carry drugs in." I was like, "Well, I've got stuff in it, but they're not drugs."
Right.
So I had to open up my little Crown bag. He had to like look in the floor,
Like you're
I
a
had to
common
open
criminal.
Right.
yeah, I had to open up the door. He had to like look in there. Now we could have said, you're not going to be allowed to look in. But
Oh, if it
It
was
was
our
like-
buddy, we would still be there. If,
Oh, yeah,
Scott,
dude.
If Scott was in that truck with us, we would still be there.
oh yeah, because he
That's-
would have been. Because the first thing I'm just going to acquiesce to the cop.
I mean,
yeah, I understand this truck looks a little bit suspect. We've got crap piled to the ceiling in the back of it. It's 2 dudes driving, down into West Virginia looking like we're on a drug run. Then he pulls us over and sees my little green Crown Apple bag with the vape juice and whatever else I need to have for the weekend. Of course I didn't know this, but apparently everybody carries weed in those things. So
yeah, my answers were not sufficient.
no, so I
Hey,
started
where are
being
you
the
going?
one to do the talking.
I don't know. Somewhere in West Virginia. That's basically. I don't
Dude,
know.
that
I'm
truck.
just going that way.
I'm going south to
Right.
southeast,
Right.
and that's all I know.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
basically we're talking about the first trip. Now we're talking about the
Because
the second trip.
we took the Titan, your dad's Titan, right?
Yeah, we went. It was you, me, and Richard. We went in the Titan.
Yeah.
that's right.
I remember a couple segments of driving back home, and I remember having to back up the trailer for a quarter mile
Yes.
on our way down there.
That's what I was literally getting ready to say. There was a road, and then we got to the end, and it was blocked off by cars piled in the road, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And we had to back a quarter mile
On the
past
side of a cliff.
Yes.
with very small margins of error.
Yes.
And everybody started turning on their porch lights as we're backing up out of here.
Well, yeah, because of course
we got lost. That's right.
course-
I forgot about that.
Of course, the Titan's not just a normal Titan. It's got a dual Magnaflow exhaust
Right.
on it. So all you hear,
We're in the middle of coal country.
We're in the middle of coal country. It's a freaking gravel road on the side of a
Shotguns
mountain.
load up just
Yeah.
as we're trying to back out of this winding.
And then all you hear is this blah, 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 idle.
yeah.
Oh,
I just remember Fatty Patty on the back of the ATV when we were trail riding.
that was a good time. And going through the tunnel, I will
Yes.
never RIP Fatty Patty and that Chinese buffet we ate at.
Oh my god.
Oh, that
I
place
was
is great.
I was just amazed that there was a Chinese restaurant in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia.
Oh, it
that
was
was
so
good.
good. It was so good.
Right.
It's funny, those little things you remember. Maybe on a future podcast, we can relive the glory that was that trip
From what we recall.
in
my
more
gosh.
detail, and probably still leave some out just for the safety
Yeah,
of your ears.
from what we
Right.
recall, people got lost.
Yep.
I had a giant bruise on my hip, not from any riding accident, but from escapades.
I did also get to watch him fly off of his ATV coming around a turn, and he gets up and says, "What happened?" "I'm fine." Gets back on it, and we keep going.
Stuff like that happens every
I
trip
feel like
down there,
there
though,
was
because
a-
we went and put that 100 miles on my brand new YZ250 with Dan. Well,
Yeah.
you weren't on that trip, but now I've got the crooked finger. because I'm doing a hill climb down there, and they've got a drainage pipe that's off centered. So if it would have been straight across like a look when I was on the hill climb, I'd have booped right over it. But as soon front tire hit it, got off kilter, back tire hit it, and the bike goes this way, I go that way, and then I come up and like my hands all crumpled.
That and then Clarence ate it. I regret not. I was working. I couldn't make it on that trip, but I'd have loved to have been on that.
It was fun. I will say, it was a fun trip. Except when you realize the name of the trail was called Rock House, is it not going to be a fun trail for bikes?
Speaking of which, I'm going to try and procure that dirt bike from Clarence.
What, the KLX?
Yeah, 250.
I thought it was a 300.
No, you're right. It is 300. But I'm big man, but I feel like that's still enough to get me around.
Oh yeah, there'd be no. I mean,
and not kill myself.
You could still do it on a KLX 300. You could. So, anyways, reeling back, because we could talk about our West Virginia trips, all night long. So you had the Trailblazer.
Yep.
Have
Like
you had
Camaro.
anything since then?
No, because you had the Oldsmobile, the Camaro, the TB. No. I mean, I got the Blazer. I guess it's a project, but a project in a different way.
Right.
Like the Olds was more of like a restore, trying to get it back to, at least presentable shape.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Trailblazer and the Camaro were both like daily drivers that go fast. And then, I'm tired of paying premium gas.
Premium insurance.
Right. The insurance. Well, the Trailblazer wasn't too bad. The Camaro was outrageous, but the Trailblazer wasn't too bad. And I didn't have any major accidents besides the demise of the Camaro, which we can get into one day. But the Blazer was actually by chance. Dad's always been looking for a 5-speed full-size truck, 2-door truck, like Bronco in particular. But he found this Blazer in Virginia. Basically, a dude's son was going away to college, was trying to fix it, knew jack nothing about cars. The father knew jack nothing about cars. We get there. He tells me the battery's dead, but it's running. Like, okay.
That makes sense.
Or no, he told me the alternator was dead, but it was running under its own power. I was like, okay. Said it had no clutch.
Very strong battery.
Said it had no clutch. I said, okay. But they had replaced a bunch of parts on it. And it actually came with a bunch of, like, I still have it in the back seat. Comes with a manila folder full of, like, receipts dating back a while. Not from the beginning, but at least in, like, the early 2000s, I have receipts of. But, I mean, it was a New Jersey truck. Then it became a Virginia and West Virginia truck. So, I mean, like, cancer has taken its toll on this truck. But it's
still not that bad.
No, it's still drivable. It's still presentable. I still like, again, and then, 2 years of it was my fault for just letting it sit, not driving it really. And so it's been like a slow kind of restoration to normalcy, basically. And then that will probably be the project, coming in the spring, summertime. Will actually be getting. I have a 5.3 again that came out of an old Suburban, like early 99 2000. Got a bunch of miles, but it's complete with a harness, with the fuse box and ECM.
You're all set.
So yeah, basically I'm all set. So I want to buy a rebuild kit, not a full rebuild kit, a regasket kit, and maybe new bearings and new rings on the pistons, and I can just clean up the pistons and just refresh.
I would say, would you consider boring it or no?
No.
Just tone it.
Unless I discover anything like horrifically bad or something that happened to this engine, probably not. I'll just keep it the way it is, put new rings on it. The main question will be whether or not I want to put like any kind of more of a bump stick in it or not.
Okay.
But then that gets into what we were talking about earlier as far as like the transmission, the manual transmission that these came with. are not rated any more than what is factory, which is like 300 foot-pounds of torque. And so even putting any kind of bump stick, I kind of would just for the sake of it, but there's a couple like kinks that needs to be worked out, like exhaust. Like from what I can understand, I can't find an OBS four-wheel drive exhaust system, LS swap exhaust system.
So you're gonna have to bend one yourself, is what
Right.
you're
Like
saying.
I don't, as far as the Y pipe goes, and like manifolds. Like I think I can use manifolds. I just have to like even the factory manifolds of that what it came with. The Y pipe is what, because apparently just all these aftermarket Y pipes are just for two-wheel drives. LS swaps only. So
Yeah,
that's the newest project.
There's really not a lot of 4x4 LS swaps for some reason.
Yeah, until
You're limited on parts quite a bit.
right, especially exhaust parts. There's a question. I did find like mounts, pretty simple actual mounts. There is a. I did find I saved it as a bookmark, but somebody did a write up on one. Not getting too technical, but there's like 3 generations of this transmission, the really early ones and the 2nd gen one, which is what I have. And then there's a 3rd gen one, which an LS would have bolted to, but the slave cylinder is actually internal instead of external like mine. So anyways, the pilot bearing is like this one-off special Napa part number that just so happened they just like went through a boxes of bearings just to get one to fit. Apparently this actually fits. So like I got the mounts, I got the electronics and whatnot. I'll buy a fuel pump and redrop the tank and just use the factory fuel system. Like that set front half, I'll either like braid line it, and then make it flexible so it fits the factory rail. The exhaust is going to be
the big issue.
Issue for me. And then the aesthetics need cleaned up. Like I need to get rid of them bumpers. Like I have one running board that I took off, and then the other running board bolts just started spinning, and I said, "Screw it." I just need to aesthetically make it look better. But I am not a body guy or any kind of. So I gotta consult with Princess about this.
It's nothing 50,000 pounds of Bondo can't fix.
Right,
I mean,
right.
those are my favorite cars. The ones where they're bottomed out from Bondo weight. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just something about
I couldn't
that.
even do that straight. That's my problem. I couldn't even do that straight. It just looked like baby turds just piling up. It was like me trying to weld, just not even flat, even smooth.
Heard
It
that.
still have
And you have holes in
like
your welds.
holes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be all bad. I'd let somebody who knows what they're doing on that part. Mechanically, I can do it. Body wise, nah, I'll let somebody else do it. I am not getting into that territory.
So, I guess it's my turn. You know, both of you guys have been firsthand participants in some of my projects.
That's true.
This spring, the LS K10 was sold down the river, made a couple dollars on it. Sold the 72 Le Mans, made quite a few dollars on that. And it was actually to the second person that even came and looked at it. And he came clear up from Kentucky.
Wow.
The first guy that wanted to look at it, I went down to a Pontiac. They had a swap meet. And this was before the whole Rona stuff was hitting hard. I think the state had just shut down.
Oh,
I
really?
think they had just shut down the DMV and stuff. So,
So later March then, early April then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the first guy I went and took it to, because, I was asking $10,000 for the car. He looked it over, saw the 2 spots of cancer above the frame rails in the trunk, which every A body gets. There's not an A body in the world that hasn't either had that replaced or it's still there. Just like mine. It was still there. It wasn't rusted through, but there was rust. You could tell when you started poking it's going to poke through, but above the frame rails in the trunk. This dude saw that and lost his mind. You're asking $10,000 for a car with rust. Yeah, you're not going to find a better price on this car.
Right.
You're gonna solid body, good paint job. The interior is
Oh,
fantastic.
suspension was killer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, full pro touring setup on it. It had all that Edelbrock suspension stuff that they don't even make anymore. Numbers matching engine. This guy lost his mind over a little bit of rust. I was like, all right, whatever, dude. He's like, I'll give you like $5,000 for it. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Out of your mind, bro. So I took it home. A week later, it's gone down in Kentucky. The K10 was a little bit more difficult to sell.
Didn't those guys end up coming down from Michigan?
For the K10.
Yeah.
They're 500 miles away.
Wow.
Or was something close to it, 400 and some miles away. And on the phone, he's like, so you think it'll make it back?
That's still my favorite part of that story.
He's like, you think it'll make it back? I was like, well, that engine's only got about 50,000 miles on it. I mean, it was a pullout from when you worked at Saturn.
Yeah.
And it sat on a
mega
stand
deal.
for... Well, that was their fault. You got in trouble for nothing.
Yeah, but still, it's still a mega deal. Even looking back at it now, even had to, add some to the price I even told you. That was still a mega deal.
Oh, yeah. It was like $425 out
for
the
like
door.
a 70,000 mile 5.3 of a truck. Running.
It was one of those... It wasn't a crate
it was like
engine. It was just-
$350, something like that. If I
Dang.
recall right? It was like 300,
Yeah, it was 350
$350.
is what they quoted for
Yeah.
you, and I came to pick it up, and the cashier lady flipped her lid and got management
Oh, that was
involved.
that was the the parts manager. Screw 'em.
Oh well,
Yeah.
ain't no big deal.
Right.
Anyways, there was no reason for that engine not to make it up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd put new cam, new valve springs. It had the carbureted intake on it, MSD ignition. I mean, that motor was a good motor. It's probably about.
Well, it was supposed to go in the Le Mans,
It was.
but then it went in the truck, which was still fine. Still worked.
Right.
Worked well.
I still have the Vortec head 350
Right.
sitting on a stand now, and I don't know. That'll
You
probably
still
end
have
up-
that 460 Ford.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the projects that have made their way out of the.
Let's talk about Kyle's ugliest car he's ever owned. That
ugliest.
freaking 240 was the ugliest car you've ever owned.
It was the fastest car. I've
Yeah,
ever
but it
owned.
was god
Dude,
awful.
that thing was a
ugly.
rocket.
That thing was so hideous. I
It
mean, not
was.
by your fault. You didn't put the body kit on, but it was
No,
straight
I
out
mean
of, like,
it had
Too
the
Fast,
full,
Too Furious,
the full
like-
veil side body kit. It was glassed in, like professional glassed in job.
it had some like special, like only in Japan 4-inch exhaust. Like, I mean, it had money put into it. It was
Ugly.
It was ugly.
like late 90s Fast and Furious.
Oh my goodness.
Because I never got to see this car. So on a
Oh my
scale of
goodness.
1 to
Hold up.
that SS you showed us, worse or better appearance wise?
It's worse than the SS.
Oh, dude, it was ugly.
It was ugly.
It was.
So it was a turd. It was a rocket-looking turd, is what you're saying.
I mean, it moved.
So when it pulled into our car hangout that we used to do, people would automatically think, oh, this is one of those, looks only cars. So, and I'd never pop my hood to let people know what was actually under there. So we would run, and back in Mexico, we used to run, we'd do blocking races. So we'd do what, 20 digs?
Right.
I don't know if Andy was ever with me. I ran an LS1 6-speed Corvette. I don't know what he had under the hood, but he thought he was going to make some easy money. And of course, from 20 to probably about 60, he had it on me. But as soon as that turbo spooled up, that little 240 was fourth and fifth was just flying by him. It was a great little car. And I traded it.
Oh. I forgot all about your Jeep. Looking through your freaking timeline.
Oh.
I forgot about your Jeep.
R.I.P. the Jeep. There are so many stories, even
I love
within the
that
past
Jeep.
like 6 months, that can be said about that Jeep.
Hold on. I'm still looking for that 240. There's got to be a picture somewhere.
But I
of this
traded that
240.
240 for the 6-speed LT1 Trans Am. that had the built.
Oh my God, here it is. It was hideous.
I'm not much of a foreign guy.
That's even a generous picture. Let me see if there's any less generous.
I'm not
picture.
really a foreign car guy, but
oh my God, here
that
it
is. I hope these can get put in for your viewing pleasure because I have
Oh,
to.
they will.
Oh my God.
It was awful. It was awful.
The work is so good, but it's so ugly.
It's so ugly.
It is. Ooh, that's
I don't
rough.
even remember. That was after you painted your wheels. Because it did not have those black
Yeah,
painted
it
wheels.
had silver wheels
Yeah,
on
it just had
and it made
polished
it look
wheels.
even worse. Like, the black wheels made it look a little bit better, but those silver wheels that were on it were awful.
Would have looked atrocious.
Oh, dude, it was so bad.
So we're not going to get way back into the history. Maybe one day we'll do a timeline of, the project cars. So the Le Mans and the truck, the only two other ones that I'm actually going to talk about is the 79 F100 pickup and then the 1935 Ford four-door.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh,
Just-
yeah.
Oh,
So what the plan was to actually be doing shop videos about that at this point right now. The whole podcast idea is something for us to be able to do in the meantime, because as you know, we're looking for property to actually build a shop on. So everything as far as shop videos is on hold. I've got all my still in the boxes shop equipment that I've bought up in the garage with no room to move out there for anything.
it's stacked very nicely, though, I have to say.
You don't know how bad I want to play with that stuff. It's a terrible feeling.
You still
walking-
have your F100
yes.
just rotting away.
No, it's not rotting away.
It's rotting away on the inside.
It's in a barn.
A piece of its soul is like,
That
How dare
302
you.
was dead when I put it away.
well, yeah.
50% cylinder leakage.
You remember the time you first drove me in that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Andy,
this is
check
great.
how awesome the brakes are. And brake line blows.
Okay, so the story
I
is
swear to you.
full manual brakes on this truck. And Andy was like, dude, isn't that really hard to like get it to stop?
Yeah,
I was like, no, these brakes are great. I can lock up the tires. So I slammed the brakes on
Right
and
in front of Scott's
it locked
house.
it locked the tires and then blew a brake line up.
Yes. That was funny.
That reminds me, the first truck I ever went to buy was a 1990s B1000 Toyota.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Barely fit in the thing, but it was a 5-speed, which is what I really wanted.
Right.
And the guy's like, let's take it for a drive. I was like, sure. So we get out and pulling out of his driveway. And this is out in the country, out in the sticks.
Right.
And we're pulling up to this hill, and he's like, give her a little gas. So we're going up, and we get ready to come back down the other side. And I go to hit the brakes. Not one, two brake lines, both front brake lines gone.
No way.
Disintegrated into nothingness.
Oh, man.
So I'm downshifting, praying to God we can stop. And I hit the e-brake, and we finally stop. And he's like, so you still want to buy it?
Oh, yeah. And so, didn't those have like this like weird pull thing?
Yes, they did.
Like a pull and twist e-brake thing? Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. For the record, when you've never used one before and you're panicking, it doesn't work.
So we're gonna talk about the plans for the Ford truck. 2-wheel drive Ranger, long bed. Not a lot of options what you can do with it, but I do plan on lowering it down. We're gonna channel the back a little bit so I can get some wider tires back there. I've got I think it's a D1 VE 460 internally balanced block up in the garage. I've also got a C6 transmission for it. So
Race truck.
yes, race truck. I'm not doing the overused cliche farm truck style with it. I'm actually going to do the body work. It's going to have good paint on it. And it's just going to be a good street strip fun truck.
Hey, I thought you're wasn't you that did the spray painted flame thing on there when you were in Lima?
That was my roommate that did that,
okay.
but
That was around when you were in Lima, though, right? When you
right, I
painted
did the
it 'cause
base. I did the
the
base
black.
layer.
Right,
That
right,
that
right.
hot rod flat.
Yeah. Yep.
whatever it is, or hot rod, semi, gloss, whatever it is. So it had a little bit of a sheen. And then they did some ghost airbrush flames on the front of the hood. And that was just because the paint was,
Yeah, that red was done anyways.
yeah. I mean, it was like a pink color because it was
Yeah.
oxidized so bad. And as soon as you polish it down again, it re-oxidized right away. So
Oh yeah, that's the paint on the Blazer too.
yeah.
Like it's done. It's so done.
So that's the plan with that truck. It's not really a priority at the moment. The real priority is
I
getting
know because it sits there waiting on you to come back.
Hey, I got rid of the.
It's like Scott in that 240. It's just sitting there. Like, are you gonna do anything with me? Like, Scott, when are you gonna work on the Toyota?
Hey, how many other cars are sitting in front of the line now?
That's
it has
true.
decreased quite a bit.
It has
The Le
decreased.
Mans is gone. The
Yep.
K10's gone. Well, and those vehicles, those were basically done anyways.
Yeah, true.
Oh yeah,
I
they
mean,
were 95%.
And I
Yeah.
think that's why I got rid of them because, like, what am I going to do now?
Right.
They look good. They run good.
Well, you really wanted to work on the the Ford Coupe or something?
The 35 Ford.
Yeah,
That's
you wanted
the
to work
next
on that.
one on the list.
Yeah,
Because that's got the Mustang 2 independent coil spring front suspension on it. It's got the Ford 9-inch rear end, leaf springs in the back still. We've got new fuel tank for it. It's got the Chevy 350 with the 202 heads. Not a hot engine, but it's not boring. And then a 700 R4 automatic transmission in it. So the chassis is completely done. The body's sitting on blocks. We have maybe a weekend worth of body work left on it before we can start bolting things back together. So that's going to be the priority going forward.
And if I remember, you still have all of the internal components, seats, everything like that, if I remember sitting there.
I do, but we're not going to be putting those old benches back in it.
Okay.
We're going to be either getting something made or finding something that will work for it.
Gotcha.
Something either a little bit more comfortable, a little bit safer. And the fact that we have to move the firewall back 4 inches, we have to be able to have something that can scoot the seats back a little bit.
Yeah.
that just reminded me of the time that one of Scott's ex-girlfriends cried about the 47 because it didn't have seatbelts. Like,
Oh, is that blonde one?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the
I
crazy
remember that
psycho one.
girl.
Well, whenever
remember that
Scott
girl.
gets his fat butt down there, he can tell that story. But that just reminds me. I'm like, what do you expect? It's a 1947 pickup truck.
Your mom's arm was your
You're
seatbelt.
right, exactly. Even if I had my seatbelt on, my mom still. Every
This is-
time it was
okay.
a sudden stop.
This is funny. Heather, something happened the other day. She had to slam her brakes on real quick, and she like reached
She
out
did the
across.
mom thing?
She did the mom thing with me, and I looked at her. I was like, "What are you really gonna be able to do? What are you really gonna be able to do besides get your
It's
arm
that-
broken by the
it's that
airbag?"
sentimental, like.
It's how you know she
instinct.
loves you.
Right. That's the true test.
The
That's
fact
what
she
you need to. That's the true test. Like now I'm just gonna use that as a criteria for marriage.
So, but
Like
now
some girl I'm just gonna date. Like if she does the mom thing, then she really cares.
Well, now here's the real question though. Are you sure she wasn't trying to unbuckle you?
Oh,
And she was just a little
there's
she was
a
just
plot
a little
twist.
high
Oh, right.
because
She swung high, meant to go low and hit the.
I
the
mean
release.
the world may never know, and
Right.
we'll have to ask Heather for her opinion.
See you, bro.
Right.
Ejecto seat, cuz just like Fast and Furious, except for you're going out the windshield this time.
That's great.
So yeah, basically those are my projects. People keep asking how much I miss the Le Mans. To be honest, I didn't really drive it that much the last couple of years.
We rode in it since I've known you 3 times.
We've driven it a while. When you first got it, we were rocking it pretty heavy. But then
Oh yeah,
it
I was
kinda
all the time. But then
something happened. I want to say like either job wise or something happened, and you kind of sat it down for a minute, and then we finally. No, it's when you got the truck. That's when the poor Le Mans
No, the Le Mans had been sitting for a couple of years before
But I'm
that.
saying, like, I guess the nail in the coffin to the Le Mans was getting the truck and putting the LS in the truck instead of the Le Mans.
Well, the only reason that the truck got the LS was because I've got a rod bearing that I gotta get.
And also, your mom
addressed.
wanted her garage back.
Yeah. Well, no, the Le Mans was here.
Yeah, but I thought
And
it
I
was,
was here-
I thought it was at your mom's for the longest
It
time
was.
too.
It was. But the Le Mans was here for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I drove it maybe 4 times.
And I say 3 of them were with me. We went to get gas, and then we took it out one
Well, you
night
just-
to a car show.
Things over times you lose interest. You know, things happen.
I mean, it was great. It's a great car.
Right.
I loved it. It was fun to drive. It handled like a brand new car.
That's true.
And it was, growing up, it was my dream car. But the issue with it is once I had it for a while, I'm like,
You kind of get bored of it.
Well, and your dreams change and your tastes change.
That's
and-
true too.
yeah, because I'm even at the point where I know I've got the space to have another hot rod or sports car of some sort. I don't even know what I want to have. Like, I get on Facebook Marketplace now, and I just cruise looking at cars, and I'm like, well, that'd be fun to have for about 5 minutes. There's literally nothing on the market right now that I want.
I remember before you got your current truck, I remember you were looking at some import.
R33s.
There we
I think.
thank you.
No,
I-
32.
Oh,
The original.
R32s. Yeah.
I was looking at them, and
That's
it would
right.
be really cool. It would. I would love to have that car, that all-wheel drive, straight six. It's another Nissan, because I like Nissans. I just can't justify, it was spend 20 grand on shop equipment or spend 30 grand on a GTR. Now, that shop equipment that I bought, I'm going to be able to build whatever I want.
And you can make money back from having it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just that TIG welder I got, all I have to do is set up a couple jigs and design a couple, easy to replicate parts. And as long as I, get back up to practice on welding again, I can start doing some fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot. I totally forgot about the new truck. Well, the new truck, the 89K 2500.
Yeah, you got that.
I got a
Even
deal
had
on that.
The TA for a while. The Jeep. Well, I feel like there was one other one, but maybe not.
We'll get into the history
Right.
on another day. But the
Yeah,
only
because I've had a couple doozies.
right.
Woof.
So the only other project that I have besides the classics, well, I guess is another classic, is that 89 2500. It was originally a 350 5-speed heavy half, but somehow it's got a 305 in it right now. But I've got another 350 that, it's not going to take anything for me to put the.
I can give you one. It runs on 7.5 cylinders.
Also,
Jasper rebuilt it, so who knows what's going on internally with it.
in that truck is the original safety light attached
Oh yes,
to the roof. It still works. I wish they still had it today.
on the hood, under the other side of the hood.
On
you
the
mean.
other, yeah.
Yeah, it's still got
The
the
what?
safety light under the hood.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you break
mine does
down-
not work, though. Mine's
But
got
his
it.
works. I
No,
saw it there. And
mine internally does not work. I have power and ground to it because I wanted it to work really badly. But there's somewhere inside, like the cord itself, because I have power and ground to the connector. And I know I changed the bulb with a good bulb, and I've got nothing.
I saw it sitting there, and he
And it's
hadn't
like
noticed
a
it yet.
freaking 5-foot cord, too. 4 or 5 foot cord.
Oh, you could reach your whole engine
Oh, yeah.
compartment. It's a beautiful
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Mine stopped. Mine is not working.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know. Rip my hood light.
If you've never seen one, you will wish that they were in modern cars.
Oh yeah,
They are so useful.
Yeah.
but it's pretty solid condition. It's had some body work done to it, but the body work was passable. I mean, it's steel.
It's better looking than mine.
It's they put steel back in there.
And yours is 5 years older.
Yep.
Yours is an 88. Mine's a 93. And I've got, the rockers are woof.
What rockers?
Yeah,
If I may ask.
exactly.
See, now that's what they replaced. Now you can put your finger back up in under there. You can feel where they didn't replace the backside of the rocker, so I only have the outside metal. The inside metal's gone. They cut it out, so it's just it's there's stuff missing. You just know there's stuff missing there.
No, I like every time I open and shut the door, I can just hear pieces of rust falling off. Like
That's character you're losing.
right. I'm just innovative in my weight savings. It's less work.
Your fuel
that-
economy is going
right,
through the
my
roof.
fuel economy and that poor Jasper crappily rebuilt 350 has to do less work.
You know
just
what's
being nice,
great
being
about
nice to
those
it.
OBS Chevy right now, though, is the prices on them.
Oh, I know they're ridiculous. I also thought
Ridiculous.
about like just flipping it. Like once I get the LS in it, just flip it. But then again, I have nothing for the winter because the Buick's not gonna, unless it's more than, unless it's under like maybe 2 inches of snow, that Buick's not going anywhere. And so I need something now. Plot twist.
Global warming, no more winter.
Yeah, right. But even when it's freezing, it's still global warming because it's now called climate change. No, Dad has expressed interest in getting rid of his XJ. Dad has a mint high mileage because Grandma and Grandpa that he bought it from just drove it from Baltimore to Florida and back. A mint stock XJ 98 5-speed 4-wheel drive 4-door.
Ooh.
Red Sport. Hold up. I'm about to show you some.
Recording. So, you're looking up some pictures for the Jeep.
Yeah. Dad's XJ.
Oh, nice.
I'm telling you. I am freaking telling you.
It's
Super clean.
It's mint and not in the
And
trailer
Dad,
park boys.
okay, so
meaning.
Dad's the kind of person that is the good customer. Dude gets like the services on time. If it's seeping, he's fixing it. Like he's like the ideal customer.
Well, he had that Isuzu forever, and the only
Forever.
reason that he had to get rid of it was because they don't make parts that he needs anymore.
Well, okay, so there was two reasons. One was parts were like impossible. Basically whatever was here was depleted, and whatever everything else was either in Japan or just not available anymore. And he even went as far because, as at least car guys know, Isuzu had the deal with Honda to make the Passport. He even went to a Honda dealership, and they're like, and laughed in his face. Like, yeah, we're not getting parts for that. So that was strike one. And strike two was they had a similar problem like the tacos with the frames. And apparently his his did not pass whatever inspection of frameage. And so that was the demise of the rodeo. That I took my driver's license. No, I didn't. I took it in Mom's rodeo. Mom had a 2-wheel drive rodeo. Dad's was a 5-speed 4-wheel drive rodeo. But I did drive because Mom did not trust me with any of her cars ever. Like barely. She still does not trust my driving.
Okay, quick side story here. Why I'm not allowed to drive my mom's Lincoln LS anymore. Were you with me?
I know that your mom took like near and dear to her heart that piece of crap Lincoln LS. Because again, she's that elite customer. So she did all the maintenance and kept up with it and loved that car. But in reality, a Lincoln LS is a piece of trash. Like that car
It is.
I would pay you to tell her that.
Yeah. I've told her that. I was like, even years ago, I'm like, why don't you get rid of this? Like, it's not worth anything. It's not that good of a car. Like, oh, I love this car. It rides so nice. And she always loved to tell me the story about how the one time they didn't put Michelin's on her tires. So it was like the worst car ever and had to put Michelin's back on it. And I'm like, well, if tires make that much of a difference, I don't think it's the tires. think it's the car.
So I don't know if you've ever heard this story of why I was never allowed to drive my mom's Lincoln LS anymore.
I have, but I like to hear it again.
I don't know if I've heard this story.
Oh, you definitely heard this story. Okay, so she'd had it, I don't know, a year, 2 years. I'm not exactly sure.
I don't. Your mom always had them. As far as because I moved into Ohio and knew you.
Yeah, she's had that car
07.
forever.
07.
Yeah.
So she's had it since then. Because they traded in for that Lexus, right?
No, I think hers is an 04.
It possibly, but I'm saying she got rid of it finally for that Lexus, right?
They still have it.
Oh, I thought she traded it in for the Lexus.
No, they went and they paid cash for the Lexus.
What? Oh, yeah. I remember your dad had the K truck, the 96, 97, 98.
Yeah, the
K
97
red.
GMC K truck. Yeah, he has
and then
had that. He sold it for the
Titan. Yeah.
And that's an 06 Titan.
Yeah.
So yeah, her Lincoln is older, so it's like an 04. So she's had it.
Even still had it.
She's had it then since I was in high school or freshly graduated.
Yeah, because we were still making the. Your mom still did the business with everybody making the hanger things in the garage.
So, anyways, what happened was Scott had come over. I think it was Scott. And he was ragging on my mom's Lincoln. I was like, actually, dude, this. I was like, actually, dude, this thing's a little bit quick. It's a little bit fun to drive. He's like, I don't believe it. I was like, so I went in and grabbed my mom's keys, and we went down to the elementary school where I went as a kid. And it's summertime, so there's no school going on. They had left the back playground parking lot doors open. For whatever reason. I was like, okay, so this is going to be the perfect test. I had that car flinging itself sideways, just doing donuts and drifting. Scott sitting in the seat next to me, holding on to the emergency handle. Oh, wow.
I mean, you're in high school. That 290 horsepower V8, man, that was...
Well, when the only thing that they had rocking around there was those 4.6 GTs.
Right.
I mean, there was nothing really.
Ford mod motors, like Ford had nothing from mid 90s to early 2000s. Had nothing except for the Termi motors, the 4-valve, supercharged 5.4 motors. But anyways, I mean, it's better than what my parents had.
Right. But anyways, everything was cool for a while until someone blabbed about someone drifting a Lincoln around the back of the elementary school and leaving tire marks all over the place. I mean, obviously nobody besides my parents ever figured out who it was, but I wasn't allowed to drive my mom's Lincoln for
I still love that story.
It's probably because it's like even a year after it being brand new is the only Lincoln left in the county of Delaware County.
Well, the issue with
a white Lincoln in Sunbury, like,
dude, it takes so much.
Who else could that be?
So much maintenance to keep that car on the road.
I believe it.
With the rear end design on it, everything squeaks. You have to lubricate every joint all the time. It drives my dad, who can't hear anything, mind you, can hear the squeaks from the rear end of this car.
I believe it.
So there's that. And then the last time, every once in a while, I'll drive it for him now to kind of tell him what it needs. I've been telling him for 2 years now. The steering will not return to center when you let go of the steering wheel. Now, if I recall, this had the McPherson's strut.
Probably, yeah.
Front ends. I told him, I was like, dude, you need to replace the upper strut bearings. Because that's literally the only thing left that could be causing this issue. I was like, lubricate, replace. I don't care what you do. You have to get the front struts out and do something because it's bad. Because you'll be on a right-hand turn, let go of the steering wheel, and it just keeps going.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's bad.
Wow.
It's bad.
Hashtag safety.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I had told my mom, I was like, this isn't safe. You need to get this taken care of. She's like, well, I'm just used to it. All right.
I can see her saying that, just freaking nonchalant.
Well, what's
My mom
what's
does
great-
the shuffle. My poor mom, she still does the shuffle return. It still has to shuffle the wheel back
That
to
makes
center.
me so uncomfortable when people do that.
She does not let me drive for anything. Dad is actually pretty cool, although Dad still thinks like there's a couple times where he, Mr. Drama, but Mom is like, no, you are not driving. I am driving everywhere. And my mom's driving drives me nuts. My mom's city driving drives me nuts. My mom's okay on the freeway. I drive just like my mom on the freeway. Like 5 to 10 over, I'm in the lane I need to be way before I need to be there. I'm not cutting people off. I'm not being a butthole and hogging the left lane. Like, I drive like my mom on the freeway. But in city driving, her, like, indecisiveness and lack of confidence of
my mom
either
is the
making
same
a
way.
turn onto a public road or something, or just like being in a parking lot. Like, I'm surprised I have not had an aneurysm yet.
Can we talk about real quick aside about moms driving? I love my mother, but I personally hate riding with her. Is it only my mom, or maybe you guys can relate, or whomever's listening? That thick white strip at stoplights and stop signs. I was always taught you stop behind it,
right.
so that when you can barely see it anymore is where you
Right.
stop for safety purposes, and then if it's a blind turn, something like that, then you pull forward.
Right.
My mom, love her to death. Her car is sitting halfway on top of that line. And I'm like, I swear to you, Mom, one day we're going to get clipped by somebody making a turn.
Yeah.
But she doesn't stop. Like, she could stop.
So
She
with
chooses
the white
not to.
line, actually, at the dealership in Maryland I worked at, Maryland is all about traffic cameras and red light cameras. Well, there's another camera. It is, you got to stop with intersections with high pedestrian traffic. You got to stop before the white line. If you stop on or over the white line, it takes a picture and you get a ticket.
Where is this? I need to take my mom
It
there.
is in, I know, of Queens Orchard Boulevard in Gaithersburg, Maryland, like right in front of Criswell Chevrolet. Like that one right there. And I've seen many people. And then I still see people get run over at that intersection before.
That would, I mean,
All it is just a money generator. Those speeding cameras, thank goodness. God bless Ohio for making that you can't have speed cameras and that you have to have a physical person speed trapping you, which still
Or the
pop out.
stoplight cameras like
Right.
they had on Lane
Yeah.
Avenue and High Street.
oh,
Dude, those were so annoying. Because I think it caused more accidents than it saved anyone, because I know personally, because, going to college down at OSU, people would panic stop as soon as the light turned yellow.
oh,
It was
instantaneously.
slam on the brakes.
Really?
Slam on the
There
brakes.
was no easing into it. It was yellow light. I mean, you're hammering down.
Huh. That's the red lights usually didn't get me. It's the speed cameras that got me. Because I'll do like, I forget what Maryland has it set between like 5 and 8, depending on, so Maryland has, some of them have fixed cameras, like they're always there. Then they have portable cameras, and they'll move between different spots along
that's
the
trickery.
along the stretch of road. And then there's a third one, the construction camera. Now, the construction camera got some attention because you probably have seen this in an article, but I've verified this when I've gone home a couple times. They will freaking sit a porta potty out on the construction on the side of the berm, and there's a camera in it, and it's not a porta potty. And if you're speeding through a speed zone and then you see a big flash behind you, that was not a porta potty, and you just got caught.
But none of us would ever speed in a speed zone.
No.
Just to be clear.
Construction workers' safety.
I mean, you already know I drive like a grandpa anyway, so.
Even when you ask him to drive fast, it doesn't happen.
No, that's my dad. Like 5 over, and you are lucky if you get that.
I'll do like
This-
72 and a 65.
Yeah.
No.
If it's
Like, I mean, on my way to work, in downtown of the city we live in.
He's going 85.
I am hauling it if there is nobody there. It is supposed to be 45 through downtown, and with all the construction.
I wish.
And, I mean, I'm not like Ricky Bobbying it, like weaving in and out. Like, I mean, I'm not that kind of driver. But if there's like on a Saturday morning and there's nobody on the road, I'm not doing 45.
And can we just talk about, for those of you not familiar with Columbus, this construction has been going on since I transferred to Ohio State in 2012.
Years.
2012, they've been working. I worked for Wings Over Columbus as delivery driver, and it was atrocious then. They have finally finished sections of it.
Can we talk about how bad Wings Over Columbus is?
Okay, first off, I'm going to have to fight you on camera.
They were not good. I gave them one shot, and it was disappointing.
Dude, I love that place. I will fight you in the snow.
Like, there's a couple other places I'd rather get my wings from.
It's okay. I'll let it slide this
all
time.
Right. But we can have this discussion later.
Off camera when it's safe for all of our listeners.
I come outside, my windows are broken and tires are flat.
I'd only take the valve stems out. I wouldn't slice them. But I mean, like with Columbus though, back to that, there are places where it is a 3 or 4 lane road and the speed limit is 45. For example, 71 north from Circleville exit to 270 to 71, it is 55. It is 4 lanes wide of brand new beautiful pavement. I go 60 in the 55 in the right-hand lane. And still, I have people running me over almost. I mean, 75, 80, just hammered down going north.
Because we live in the crossroads of slow drivers and southern drivers.
Yeah.
And then we get these freaking New Yorkers, and they can go back to New York where they came from because they are terrible drivers, and I see nothing but New York license plates.
It drives Heather nuts. Every time she complains about somebody on the road, it's always New York.
And you're making everybody around Columbus worse as drivers by being bad at driving. And then there's the people, and I don't blame them. But the out-of-towners, the Kentuckians, Indianians that go exactly as speed limit because they're afraid of speeding.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. Don't get me wrong. I don't blame them. But if you know the area, you know exactly where each cop is. You know which cop is actually speed trapping and which ones are just looking for semis for hazardous material.
Yeah.
And inside the loop, like when they're not supposed to. So you know which ones you can blow through and be like, they're not speed trapping. They're just looking for semis, whatnot. And going the exact speed limit, because it goes from like 4 lanes all the way down to 2 lanes, all the way down to 1 lane.
Yes.
Depending on where you need to go downtown.
I hate driving downtown.
I mean, I'm used to it now, but
with all that being said, I will say I have driven in 38 states now in multiple cities, and I love you, Columbus, but most of you are atrocious drivers.
DC drivers are the worst. DC drivers are the worst.
My grandparents live in Warrenton, so I will second that if it's 45, you're going 80.
If you're like in the, Maryland, Northern Virginia, DC area, terrible drivers.
I side with Andy here. DC drivers suck real bad. Real bad. Here sucks really, really bad.
In a different way.
Now,
the white death that's going to come down from the skies tonight.
Legitimately, I don't know how Maryland and DC actually give out driver's license because these people legitimately just cannot drive. Ohio, or at least Central Ohio, they're just bad drivers. Like, they can drive, they're just bad at it and do dumb stuff.
I say you got to come down to Southern Ohio, where I'm from. We know how to drive down there.
Right.
Well, and that's once you get west of Indiana, things get better.
Yeah.
Heather and I, when I went to my job interview out in Arkansas, I still wish that I was there right now.
He doesn't mean that he would miss us.
I know.
I would. You guys would still come visit, though.
That Arkansas.
Okay, but when you can buy race fuel at every corner VP station, and every truck around there sounded like it was running 11-to-1 compression. It's an awesome place to live. You get west of Indianapolis, everyone's awesome drivers. Courteous. They go about the same speed as you.
Mm-hmm.
No drama.
Really?
There was a little bit of drama driving through St. Louis, but, you know.
I mean, any major hub or any major city is going to have, I don't know.
It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything compared to Columbus, though.
Through Lexington, and I could not figure out.
I will say that
How
Kentuckians have lead foots, all of them.
Yeah.
I took my motorcycle from Columbus to Georgetown to Lexington to Louisville. I was going 90 to keep up with traffic.
Right.
There are people passing me
Now, okay.
at 100.
So
Have you driven in Alabama?
That is on. I have not been to Alabama yet. It's one of the few states I've not been
So
to.
I do know this. I don't know if they've changed the law, but Maryland had a law that if it was written in a way that and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I recall it is if the speed of traffic is going an X amount of rate, you can go that X amount of rate, whatever they are going, and not get in trouble.
Following the flow.
You're following the flow. So it is the stretch between Frederick, Maryland and Washington, D.C. is Interstate 270. And it is the most miserable, awfulest, crappiest highway. And I lived there my entire life, like right off of 270. And they just keep like, oh, we're going to improve it. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And people who know from that area, they just know. But the speed limit is 55.
You never go that speed.
Only my dad is the one that goes 55. 60 if he's like having a good day. Like I am hauling it and I'm getting past. Like reckless endangerment, like 75 and a 55 and just keeping up with traffic. And there's people in the HOV lane like, screw you.
Can confirm. I'm familiar with that little section there also. And that's like the Mad Max of Maryland.
Oh my God, it is.
Take no prisoners. Insane. You don't. If you're in the right lane, you don't get over.
No. And the Marylanders are like, oh, I need to be over. Well, let me cross 5 lanes of traffic and to get off on this exit. Whoops. Like that's what they do. You know, you don't get let in. You make yourself go in to a lane.
And that's the unfortunate thing in Ohio is it's trending towards.
Yes.
It is.
What DC was like. It's getting worse. And I hate.
Although,
Central.
Can we talk about, because of the Rona, how much I hauled butt to and from work? Because there was nobody on the road.
Yes. Even
like hauled butt. There was nobody.
The 270 Outer Belt right now is a beautiful place to travel.
Right.
But once coronavirus is done, it is specifically going up towards Polaris, Sunbury exit 161.
It's going to be bad.
It was bad when I lived up there in Minerva Park.
Right.
It's going to be terrible.
It would take me 45 minutes to get to work in the morning. It would take me an hour and 20 to an hour and a half to get home in the evenings.
That's why I don't take a lunch. I leave at 4 because it's easier to leave at 4 and go through downtown than it is to leave at 5 and go through downtown.
Even 4:30, it is enough.
It makes a difference. Absolutely.
We're not talking a little. We're talking like 10, 20,
I'll
30
tell you what
minute
they
difference.
have done. Local talk here, but if you're from Central Ohio, the stretch from Grove City all the way into Columbus, that stretch of 71 is so vastly improved.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So vastly improved the flow of traffic that like it makes actually traveling, because it was miserable and that was the only way I could get to work.
Oh yeah, when it was 2-lane construction on both sides.
Oh my goodness. Now that it's 4 lanes, they still want you to go 55.
That's what I was talking about earlier when you're going up north from
55.
No one does.
Nobody ever does 55. What really pisses me off is the 71 south right towards downtown.
Oh,
And
you're
they
talking
have
about
they've got 2 lanes to Spring Street in the downtown exit, or 2 left lanes that stay on the 71. And it's like nobody is either paying attention or has ever driven in Columbus, you would think, because they tell you like 5 signs behind that this lane is an exit only. These 2 right lanes are exit only.
And they just changed traffic flow there too.
Right.
Nobody pays attention.
Nobody pays
Ever.
attention. And then there's the people that, like, once that happens, right after that exit, you merge with, I think, an entrance ramp from like 670.
It is, yeah.
It's 670 to 71 South or 70 East or West. But
It's all panic lane changes.
there's like a giant, like, dead zone area, right? I mean, they have to throw up sheriffs or the Columbus police there just because people like merge in and out of that like dead space area where the lanes haven't actually merged yet. And that's annoying.
For the record, we are all excellent drivers. So if we ever see you on the road, just smile and wave.
Yes.
I am 99% an excellent driver. There's always that 1% where stupid stuff happens. I've only ever had 1 ticket. Oh, no, I say that 2. 1 was a speeding ticket. 1 was an ACDA in the Jeep. When I rear-ended that lady.
Oh.
Which
yeah,
was
okay.
baloney.
Yeah. I've gotten a couple tickets. Well, I mean, there's a couple like, I don't know, parking tickets from like
Right.
years past from Columbus.
Well,
they can suck it.
My speeding ticket was legitimate. It was a 1-year reduced road. So I went to the sheriff's department. They're like, well, you can take a class and they won't report it to your insurance. So I sat online for an hour and took a test about not speeding and paying attention to when they put up new speed signs for different speed limits. But no, the one that was baloney, like actual baloney, was when they were doing work on 70 West up in Hilliard.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that
They're doing
exit,
the West Side project.
they decided to put a stop sign at the top of the overpass.
Yeah.
So when you were trying to merge, you actually had to stop and then drive on instead of just driving on like normal. So the lady stopped, and of course you have to crane your neck
Right.
way back. So she goes. I look back. It's still clear. I hit the gas as I'm bringing my head back. Blew up the back of her MX. What's the Mazda minivan?
Well,
MX
they had a
4?
MVP and then
MX.
Oh yeah. I forget what they call it. MX5 or
MX5. That sounds
yeah,
right.
That sounds
Blew
right.
up the back of her MX5. It didn't even put a scratch in my license plate. In my Jeep. Didn't scratch the bumper. Had glass all over the hood. It was like the thing just exploded at me because I just tapped it. Totaled her vehicle. Totaled her vehicle. A less than 5 mile an hour collision. Totaled her vehicle.
They're not worth a whole lot to begin with.
So real quick, my 2 tickets that I've had, I had a taillight out in Colorado. At the time, I had my first car, a 1992 300E Mercedes with 235,000 miles on it.
Woof.
I drove it 22 hours straight from Marietta, Ohio area to Golden, Colorado without stopping, other than for fuel, the restroom, and food.
Right.
That was a great car, other than when I was out the snow out there and he got stuck everywhere. Anyhow, I just dropped my dad off at the airport and I'm driving back and I'm getting pulled over. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't reckless or anything like that, turn signals, everything. And he's like, son, I pulled you over? And I just said, because I have an Ohio plate. He did not find humor in that. He's like, the reason I pulled you over is you got a taillight out. It was $165
For a taillight?
for a taillight.
Woof.
Did you tell him that you have been driving
Yeah.
since Ohio? I mean,
He did not care.
Wow. That's
welcome to Colorado,
rough.
brother.
So that was
that's rough.
my first ticket. My second ticket, I had just moved back to Ohio to go to OSU from Colorado. I had a Colorado license. I had not been in this great state of West Virginia in 2.5 years. I did not know that there was a cell phone law in place, and it was not posted from going in from Marietta to Parkersburg at the time. My mom had a Land Rover. So I'm talking on my cell phone, pulling into West Virginia. Whoop, whoop. Son, you know I pulled you over? I'm like, I literally have no idea. He's like, where are you from? I pull out my license. I show it to him, and he's like, Colorado? What are you doing with this car? I'm like, it's my mom's car. I just moved back.
Right.
Literally a couple days beforehand. He's like, well, all right. So he runs my license. He comes back, and he's like, so Jenna, smoke any of that legal marijuana when you're out there? I said, no, sir. I said, I'm not 21, as you can see by my license. He's like, yeah, but I'm sure you probably could have. I'm like, I could have. So I thought we were good. I mean, if you have a cop asking about legal marijuana,
right,
you think you're off the hook.
Right.
Wrong. He's like, well, gonna have to give you a citation. I'm like, sir, I really did not know. He's like, and I know that it's not posted on that bridge. He's like, but I got to give you a citation.
Yeah. Ignorance is no excuse for the law. That's what
he
they
really
say.
didn't like you that day is what it all came down to.
Well, I thought the same. I was nice. We got along. We were all cordial. I found out that in Parkersburg, at least from my understanding, what I've been told, it is a non-excusable offense, meaning that if you get caught talking on your cell phone and you get pulled over, not if you get caught, if you get pulled over for it, they cannot just give you a warning. It didn't help. Like I said, I was in the Land Rover at the time. My mother's, not mine. So those have been my two tickets.
Wow.
I've been in, I totaled a car in college, working for Wings Over Columbus. I did not total my car. I was coming up Lane and Kenny, heading from OSU towards Wings Over Columbus. And Mr. Lee Wang from Lincoln Tower. This was Valentine's Day circa 2013, 14, ran a red light at 45 miles an hour with 3 inches of snow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had a Subaru Forester at the time, that 2002 I was talking about. I tried to correct, of course, because I was trying not to T-bone him as he was flying through the intersection. Well, I ended up missing him and his rear door, but I did hit his rear quarter panel. Well, when I hit him at maybe 20 miles an hour, he had enough force traveling forward that he spun my car around, and I smacked into a car coming the opposite direction.
Oh, wow.
Totaled my car, totaled his car, and totaled the other car.
Wow.
So I will never forget Mr. Lee Wang. I will also never forget the nice lady police officer who wrote my last name down incorrectly, even though she had my license.
That is the Ohio education system, sir.
So if you ever have problems, just remember that in the great state of Ohio, and if you have Geico insurance, that if they spell your name incorrectly, it is essentially impossible to file a claim when it's spelled Morris, not the correct way.
Oh, jeez.
Well, anyways, I think we're getting to the point where we probably ought to wrap. That way we can just chill and not feel like we have to keep talking about one specific subject. So I think going forward, after I review this, there's going to be, I'm going to start doing a little bit of show prep. I'm going to be finding some articles for us to review. When I figure out what's going on with the display capture on this, why it won't actually cast to the TV and record at the same time. So hopefully next time we'll have some interesting articles to talk about. Maybe do some video reactions. I will text Jeff, get Jeff off
Right,
to
that'd
come
be
down
sweet.
and hang out so we can have our fourth. And I'm sure once we get this posted up, you guys will review it and have some ideas as well. So
I'm going to buy you a whiteboard because I definitely do better with a outline.
We're gonna have to get like a sheet printed out. Like, all right, let's not get off topic this time.
Like I
Bulletin one.
very tangential. It's very easy
Right.
to stray from the
well,
topic
what I
at hand.
figure is we'll have like 3 major topics that we'll want to talk about. we'll dedicate a half an hour to talking about some interesting news articles. And then when we're actually doing a live portion, we'll, spend the last half an hour, 45 minutes responding to the super chats, which hopefully, we can have Ask a GM Tech question day, or we could do,
Or just randomize stuff. They can
right.
add whatever.
Fellow
I guess.
at-home mechanic, we have a question for you.
Right.
That'd be me. I have no formal training, but I can walk you through most things.
Right.
Right. I mean,
ask a GM
there's
guy.
there's
Oh,
there's
I've got
there's self-learned experience. I went to school for it. He went to school for it. He's got experience in the field, so you step up as you go around the corner.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse, especially in wing places.
Why did I stick to this? I don't know.
So I think this was a really good test run. I think there'll definitely be some content that'll see the light of day.
Sweet.
It might not be everything, but you never know.
That's all right. Kyle's gonna be up all night editing this.
No, I'm gonna shut this.
It must be perfect.
We're gonna go upstairs. We're gonna drink some beer, play with the dog because he's been pissed off the entire night.
Hopefully we can play, I was thinking Super Smash.
Past,
I'm about to get
past
my ass
Andy's.
kicked in this too.
Past Andy's.
If we play Smash,
I think
there's only so much button mashing that can happen
I
before I
think-
get my.
I think
Give
we'll have
up.
to we'll put Smash to another night because I don't know if any of those controllers are even charged.
I only say that because hopefully on a future podcast you can hear the pain and suffering that I put these two through
have
when
to
we play
like,
Super Smash.
Smash live on the podcast and just watch my butt.
I mean,
get
I
kicked.
do have a gaming channel, so we could live some Smash one day, but
And you can
it's not
see the
gonna be
reactions.
Right. Just like
the
regular.
terrible
Just
sorrow
put like
on my
the
face.
title
that
of like
every
that
time,
baby, like
literally, the only one winner at this entire table is
just like regular dudes play, and it's just us playing games. Because I don't play, but like a certain select titles of games. There's all kinds of games I probably am terrible at that people love. That like, because I'm like one of those kind of like nerds that like to watch videos and listen about it,
Yeah.
but never actually freaking play it on my own. Like I like watching other people's experiences, mostly because it's on consoles that I'm not paying for. I'm not paying for a Switch.
Right. And if
But
you want to see
I
me,
love watching people play Mario Maker 2. Like it is amazing to watch these.
and if you want to watch me get upset and physically flustered and you can see it, we can do some Wii bowling and you can
Right.
see the dark side of my hatred for that game.
or
There's another, like,
play some frisbee golf with Heather.
Yeah.
Even worse.
All right. So we're getting down like another rabbit hole, but like I've been into these games about a game I've never played in my entire life. But these videos are so dang interesting. It's these animated short videos of Dungeons and Dragons games. It is amazing. Like incredibly entertaining. I have no desire to play it. I could care less. It sounds complicated, but man, does it sound interesting. Like when people like animate stories of their games being played and whatnot into like animated shorts.
Oh, so this is like Red versus Blue or whatever from Halo, like funny story.
Yes, but in like a
Dungeons and
Dungeons and Dragons version, and it is
Interesting.
fantastic, and I love it. But I have no desire to play any of that ever. And then because I was broke for a very, 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 very long time, like this whole like, and we could talk about gaming more eventually, but I'm so out of the loop of these online multiplayer games. Like, I just want a good freaking one-player single-op campaign mode. I just want just a good single-player
Because the single
campaign.
player campaign modes end, whereas you got me that got sucked down the destiny hole,
But-
and I lost an entire year of my life, and all I got was some stupid medal that randomly showed up.
I can confirm. Can confirm.
Yeah, no. I want just a good campaign. Like, I don't know what... I feel like if I were to hop into, like, I don't know,
League of Legends.
League of Legends or Fortnite or the Warzone Call of Duty, or I think Rainbow Six has got a version. Like, No, I think I would. Like, I even doubt. Like, I still have, like, because I buy the Game Pass for Xbox. So there's a bunch of games I can just download. And a couple of them are these, like, multiplayer online games. And I just feel like these games have been out, and I'm such a freaking noob that I'm not even going to try. I'm just not even going to try.
That was my problem, was I tried playing a couple of Mikey's games with him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was a freaking disaster.
I'll just stick to my, Forzas and racing, and then like first person shooter type.
We need to bring back a good Mass Effect game.
Mass Effect was on the like replay, like it was like a 360 port that I played again.
That's such a great game.
That wasn't Mass Effect. It was a different game I was thinking of.
But that style of game, those were great. Single person.
But there's
we are so far off topic,
Resident
so far
Evil.
down a rabbit
the Resident
hole.
Evil looks great.
We are going to sign off for tonight. It has been great being here. Hopefully, if you've made it this far, we provided you with some sort of entertainment.
Right.
We don't know what the schedule for this is going to be. It's probably going to be broken up since this isn't live yet. But hopefully, this is something that is, a regular staple of the channel going forward.
I'd do it again.
Fun. Sitting down
Absolutely.
here drinking some apple juice, eating some pizza.